but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. You can feel it.
Get up on out the bed and start to move your balls. Wake up a word in Solomon Jones. Word. You better wake up now.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Wake Up with Word. Kawesa, how you doing this morning?
Doing well. I watched some of the debates. I couldn't stay up the whole time to watch it, but I did watch some of it.
That foolery.
It was foolish.
Foolery.
It was foolishness.
Come on,
Let's
man.
be honest.
I ain't trying to. Yeah, I saw it. I saw some of it, and it's too many people. It's too many people.
Yeah.
It's too many people running for president. Half of y'all know you're not going to win. Why are you in the race? And that really is the gist of the question for me. Why aren't you instead raising money for some other candidate, positioning yourself to run next time? I'm looking at these people. I'm like, half of these people I've never seen before in my life.
There was one point, and I put it on my Facebook too. There was one point when I just had to take a picture. I was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, MSNBC, NBC, like, I need y'all to keep up and start giving me some lower thirds because I had no idea who half of these people were.
Exactly. And they act like we supposed to know. We ain't never seen these people before in our lives. They on stage talking about when I'm president. When you president? How about when you're somebody I can recognize on the street? What are you talking about when you're president? You're not going to be president.
No.
Stop running. It's ridiculous. I'm looking at this mess, and I'm like, yo, we got to do better. We really do. We really got to do better. And why is the mayor of New York running for president?
And forgive me, because I didn't even know. I didn't even know that he was running. I was like, that guy looks familiar. Who is that? And then they put the lower third there, and I was like, oh. And so I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, there's about 80 y'all. I just don't really. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but I'm just saying I didn't know most of them. I didn't.
Yeah. And this is my job. Like, I follow the news every day. This is what I do. I don't know you people. And that's right, I called you people. I don't know you by face. Like, I'm looking at you. Who are these people talking about when I'm president? When you president? How about when you're recognizable? How about that? Why are you running? Why are you on the stage?
Right, exactly.
Please have several seats right now. This is ridiculous. I saw it. I'm looking at them, and I'm thinking, hey, Valerie, how you doing?
I'm good.
So did you see any of the debate?
I actually did not. I saw how it was a lot of people up there. It looked like a game show to me. It was a lot. It
was too much. Y'all doing too much. Y'all doing way too much. Y'all doing the most, right? So I'm looking at it and thinking, why are you up here? That's just, I kept thinking that. And, it was deep because I'm downstairs watching a movie with my son. He's 14. I don't, he spent a lot of time in his room, on YouTube, whatever. So I'm like, oh, man, he downstairs. Let me go down here and watch a movie with my son. We watching one of the Spider-Man movies. I got to go upstairs and watch this foolishness. You know what I'm saying?
It was foolish.
I was better off watching the movie with my son.
Yeah, it was, and I'm just like, yo, call me when we get to 3 to 5 candidates, and then, I'll take you more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I can't.
It's hard. It's hard. It really is. It's hard, and of course, we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on with our very own Jay McCalla, who always breaks down the foolery going on in Washington, D.C. and beyond. But there's some foolishness going on here in Pennsylvania as well. Chaos reigned on the Pennsylvania Senate floor Wednesday amid debate on a Republican drive to kill a cash assistance program for thousands of poor and disabled Pennsylvanians as senators shouted and traded accusations and Democrats walked out in protest. The fight erupted as Republicans successfully pushed a bill to end the state's general assistance program, which provides monthly stipends of up to $200 to the needy for basic necessities. Y'all better watch what's going on at that state capitol because we live in the city with the highest poverty rate of any big city in America. There are poor people living in Philadelphia, But I need you to know this. There are poor people living in other parts of the state as well. Poor people who don't look like you, poor people who don't look like me, poor people who need a leg up just like everybody else. This cash assistance, in some cases, is the bridge that takes a person from unemployment to economic viability. It is something that people need on a temporary basis sometimes in order to pull them through. And for these people to sit in Harrisburg and then try to take away this assistance from the poor people in the state of Pennsylvania is reprehensible. This isn't governing, said Senator Pro Tem Joe Scarnati. This is chaos. We got a jam-packed show for you today on Wake Up with Word. Political commentator Jay McCalla breaks down the foolery going on in Washington, D.C. and beyond. We talk about the gun violence going on in the city of Philadelphia with Victoria Green and Emily Nelson. How do you stem the tide in our communities? And, of course, Eddie Conroy of the Hope Center on solving the student loan crisis. And as always, we've got you, our listeners, calling in at 215-634-8065 or toll free 1-866-361-0900. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram at onWURD, or you can hit me personally at Solomon Jones 1. Watch us on Facebook at 4Word. But first, it's the big three, the news stories you need to know to kick off your day right here on Wake Up with Word. Story number one. As the immigration crisis overshadowed the first presidential debate, the tension between two Texans, Julian Castro and Beto O'Rourke, erupted on the stage Wednesday as the two tangled over immigration policy. O'Rourke is a former Texas congressman, almost beat Ted Cruz, but he was answering a question about what he would do on day one to deal with the migrants seeking asylum, and he referenced the photograph of a Salvadorian father and daughter who drowned this week while trying to enter the U.S. We would not turn back that girl and her father. We would accept them into this country and follow our own asylum laws, O'Rourke said. He said, we would not build walls. We would not put kids in cages. In fact, we would spare no expense to reunite. At that moment, Castro bust in and said, look, the reason that they are separating these little children from their families is they're using Section 1325 of that act, which criminalizes coming across the border, to incarcerate the parents and separate them. Some of us on this stage have called to end that section, to terminate it. Some, like O'Rourke, have not. And so, that picture, and we talked about it yesterday, we talked about the fact that there are people who are willing to die for the American dream. We talked about the fact that there are people who are willing to risk everything to come here, that yes, we have problems with racism, with sexism, with misogyny, with hypocrisy, with a lying president who done lied 10,000 times or more since he's been in office. But there are people, man, who would die to come here to work a job that maybe we don't want, to have to go to a school that maybe we don't like, to live in a hood that maybe we think is too dangerous because they come from a place where they'll walk up to you and shoot you in the head, right? And so, I don't know, man. I don't know if I like them arguing over this dead father and son and really using them as some kind of political symbol. I don't know if I like that. Kawesa, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't agree either. And as you were talking, that's exactly what I was thinking as well. You know, the fact that this man and his daughter lost their lives, and now it's being used as a method to, kind of gain points, right? And the other thing that I noticed as well is a lot of the candidates were speaking Spanish and trying to, make it seem like they were cool with everybody. And to me, that's a selfish ploy. And I just want to say to, my Spanish community brothers and sisters out there, don't fall for it. Make sure that you are looking at their policies to make sure they are actually working for you.
You know what it reminds me of? There's a movie called Airplane, and maybe I'm dating myself, right? There was a black person that was having a meltdown or something, and this woman who used to play Beaver's mom on Leave It to Beaver, now I'm really dating myself, right? I saw it in reruns. I didn't see the original. I just need to let y'all know that. But this woman, June Cleaver, walks up, right? And she's like, you're the whitest white person ever. And she was like, excuse me, I speak jive. And then she started talking, right? But that's what that moment was like. Like, please stop. Stop trying to act like y'all down. You're not down. You are not down with the Spanish people. Stop it. Anyway, man, story number 2. I just had to get that out of my system. The owner of Hahnemann University Hospital in Philadelphia has announced it will close in September because of what the company calls continuing unsustainable financial losses. It's going to be like 2,500 jobs lost when Hahnemann Hospital closes right there in Center City, Philadelphia. And there is another big closing, that refinery that shut down. I believe Vincent Thompson's going to talk about it a little bit later on in his newscast. But whole lot of jobs, man, suddenly gone in the city of Philadelphia. Valerie, I hope you wasn't hoping to work in a hospital.
I was, well, once upon a time I was. Now,
Okay.
no. That's hard. Like, I don't know. It's going to put people in a rough place, especially families. Like, and it's already hard out here right now.
That's what I'm saying. And again, the poorest big city in America, where you have people who are really struggling, but it's not like, and I hate to say it, the people who are impoverished in Philadelphia, it's not like they were getting those jobs anyway. That's part of my problem with what goes on in Philadelphia, is that certain people from certain segments get all the employment, and everybody else got to just sit there, Kawesa, and watch them work.
Yeah, and that's what we continue to see happen. And so it's really sad that the refinery is closing, though. It's really sad about Hahnemann. I mean, I know people who are nurses over at Hahnemann, and they were people who look like us, and they're going to be out of a job. So it's definitely sad, and I hope that something else will be on the horizon for them. I do.
So here's what I want to talk about, and this is going to be controversial. Story number 3. A man facing backlash online for repeatedly calling police on black women at his apartment complex's pool claims his actions were driven by his autism and not racism. I'm autistic and lack a gauge that goes anywhere but 0 to 100, Nick Star Street wrote on Facebook. When I see a lease violation, I call it out and do everything in my power to make sure it is resolved, no matter who is the person violating. And this is controversial because, autism is an issue in America, and it is an issue in every single community in America. And so you want to be sensitive to the fact that there are some people who, because they are on that autism spectrum, don't socialize in the same way that other people do. I remember the first time I met somebody with autism, and I did not know that they had autism. And he was a young man who was not black. He was, I don't know if he was white either, but he wasn't black. And I shook his hand, and he then wiped his hand off, right? And I took offense. But I didn't know that he was autistic. And I was working in a congressional office at the time. His parents had sent him there as an intern and didn't tell anybody that he was autistic, which I thought was a mistake. I understood why they did it, but I thought it was a mistake. I thought they should have told us that. And then when things like that happened, we would have known how to respond. One of my coworkers had to figure that out. And so I don't even know what the question is here, but this man keeps calling the cops on these black women. And the black women are at the pool, and they were drinking champagne, and they had their champagne glasses, and they living their best life. They having a good time. And he comes and he begins to harass them because having these bottles and having these glasses by the pool is a violation of the lease at that apartment. And he says he doesn't see gender, he doesn't see race, but he's married to a man. And so, is that your preference? So do you see gender there? And you're married to a white man. So do you see race there? Do you see gender there? And do you just not see race and gender when it comes to black people? I mean, it's a hard question. And I just want to know what the listeners think, because when I saw it and I read through the whole story, I felt like he was lying. I felt like maybe you do see race, maybe you don't. I don't know. But when it comes to the preferences of the people that you want to be with, they're people like you, right? But when you see other folks who are doing something that you think is wrong, then you need to call the cops. I want to know what you guys think, because this is a hard thing, because you're dealing with people who have issues that make them respond differently in social situations. But is race part of that? I guess is my question. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. Valerie, what do you think in hearing this story?
I can't give him a pass for that. Maybe it's insensitive, but I just don't think that's a reason to justify that behavior. I mean, I know the spectrum's pretty wide, and like there's different areas and different things to each type of autism and stuff like that. But that, I don't know. Like I feel like there's some awareness there. It's not completely just like, oh, I'm autistic, I don't acknowledge this and that. No, it's like you're well aware, especially when you speak of like his sexuality and his relationship. Like you're aware of black and white, the differences, and how it can even be perceived and how it looks. I can't pass him for that.
Kawesa, what do you think?
It's hard for me because I do have family members who are autistic, and they are high functioning autistic, and you have Asperger's, which is on the spectrum as well, and Asperger's is a little bit different even from just autism. So there is a wide range. What I do know is that there are levels to it, and the fact that sometimes when you're autistic you perseverate over certain things, and so it might not necessarily be a racism issue. It just might be like a perseveration, or you're kind of, I don't even want to say
what?
Obsessed over it. Like my one cousin, like he's always playing with cards. Like it's always something that he does, and so sometimes it can be a situation where you see people of color and you're not even connecting the dots that it's racist. You're just like, oh, okay, this is my trigger. This is, something that kind of sets me off. And so I don't want to give him a pass, but at the same time, if in fact he does have Asperger's, or, he's on that spectrum, then, it does mean that he can have, relationships, sexual relations, all of those types of relationships, but there's still some things that don't quite connect. So it's a little bit of more of a difficult situation for me, because I know people who are on the spectrum.
So do I.
Yeah.
So do I. And I think that when I look at this, and the fact that he repeatedly did this, I wonder if, is it autism? Is it racism? Is race something that, early on he was taught and became a trigger? You know what I mean? Like, is it that? Because people online, of course, people online are just mean. And so, they're going in and nobody knows that he is autistic. And one of the things that happened when he got in these black women's faces, one of them kind of pushed him, like, get out my face. You know what I mean? And so it's a deep thing. And I think all of us need to learn more about autism. But it's hard when you are relating to this person as just somebody who knows what they're doing, knows why they're doing it. You don't know what their mental state is. You don't know whether or not they're on the spectrum. And they're doing these things that in normal circumstances are offensive or even racist. Like, I just felt like we needed to just bring that to the table this morning and just talk about it. Because I don't know how you respond to that, especially if you do not know. And so you're responding to this based on how you have been socialized, based on your life experience, based on where you are mentally, and you don't know that this person is experiencing it from a whole different perspective because they're autistic. I don't know, man. It's a hard thing, but I think all of us need to learn more about it. But, I don't know if I can give them a pat because you keep doing it, but that's part of it. This obsessive compulsive behavior for some people who are on the spectrum is part of it. So We're going to go back. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But right now, we got to talk about violence. Gun violence is up about 10% over this same time last year. Many people are talking about it, trying to figure out solutions to it. And we're going to talk to two of them on the other side of this break. Victoria Green is the founder of Amir, Every Murder is Real, and Melanie Nelson is the executive director of Northwest Victims Services. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
The Kimmel Center offers free arts education programs to schools across the region. Teaching artists visit classrooms to educate, engage, and inspire the next generation using creative learning experiences, and schools take trips to the Kimmel Center for live performances. The Kimmel Center is committed to educating Philadelphia's youth by providing access to quality arts. For more information, visit kimmelcenter.org. This is WURD Radio, independent black media.
Word family, is me, Solomon Jones, host of Wake Up with Word, and I want to see you on June 28th at the Wellness and Food Festival at the Fresh Grocer, 4160 Monument Road. It's going to be a blast. All of us are going to be out there. We want to see you, talk to you, and I'm going to have some of my books as well. So join us right there at 4160 Monument Road for the Wellness and Food Festival. And please, whatever you do, make sure you join the Forward movement today and get your membership or renew between now and June 28th to take advantage of our $75 early bird special. We'll see you on June 28th at the Wellness and Food Festival. Be there.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart savings strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Compassion International. Busy ride southbound 95, first jam Cotman down through Girard, jammed again Ridley Park down to the Blue Route. An accident there off to the left. Northbound, your jam Kirtland to pass the Blue Route. Accident there is off to the right. Now Schuylkill Expressway both ways, east and westbound busy. Westbound Vine Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Heavy southbound Boulevard Route 1 approaching 3rd Street down to 9th. That is a jam ride. Then continues down to Broad Street. Just some heavy volume. 42 northbound Coles Road to 295 busy. 55 north Deptford into 42 at a jam.
Right now, there's a child living in extreme poverty with no future and no hope. But you can bring hope when you become a Compassion International sponsor. Just text the word child to 83393 and sponsor a child right now.
For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. I'm Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're waking up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD. And I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. We're talking about violence this morning. Joining us in studio is Melanie Nelson. She's Executive Director of Northwest Victim Services. And I want to welcome you to the show. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right. And, of course, on the phone is Victoria Green. She is the founder of Every Murder is Real. Good morning, Victoria. How are you?
Fine. Good morning, Solomon and Kawesa. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome. So I want to talk to you first because, you know, you founded your organization after personally experiencing violence in your own family. What happened?
In March 27, 1997, my only son, Emir Green, was murdered. He was shot in the back 7 times, and he was 20 years old. So Emir is his name, but also stands for Every Murder is Real. Yeah.
And how did that affect you and your family differently than, say, someone dying from a sickness or something that you were prepared for?
Well, what happens is, because of the violence, is totally different. And what happens is you're in a state of denial, you're shocked, you're depressed, you're lonely, you feel alienated, you don't trust anybody, you have panic because it's caused by the disorientation and the disorganization prompted by grief and the crazy act of murder. Murder is not normal. It's just not. We're not supposed to bury our young people. The young people are supposed to bury the aged. And that's what's so different. And what happens is, if you are not educated about trauma, first of all, you feel like you've had no control because you could not prevent your child or your husband or your parent from being murdered. So the best thing is trauma education, because at least you can control and understand your behavior, because initially you feel like you're going crazy because you're having flashbacks, you're having triggers, you can't sleep, you can't function. So all of that is important for those people who have experienced homicide to be educated so they can get on the road to living a progressive life. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, but it's very important.
So in terms of justice in your particular case, did you ever get justice? Was your son's murderer ever caught?
Yes, he was caught. And what's interesting, now this is 1997, and at that time we had 400 murders in Philadelphia. And my son was 126 in the month of March. So his murderer was caught, and we did go to trial. Now, this was quick. My son was murdered in March, and the trial was in December. And I had really good homicide detectives, really good. And what's interesting, you know, homicide detectives are on shifts. So what I would do, I would set my clock for the different shifts. So if he's on 12 to 8, I would set my clock, get up at 12, and call him, midnight. And what I did was, whatever I heard in the community, I'd write it down and keep a log, and then tell the detective. So they did. Well, I was doing this consistently, right? So what happened, my daughter called the detectives and apologized for me. And you know what the detective said? Leave her alone, because we have cases where nobody calls. We have cases where nobody gives us information. So let her continue. So we did have the trial, and it took about a week and a half. And what's interesting, in the courtroom, they have bulletproof glass protecting the judge, protecting the DA, the defendant's lawyer, and the victim and the defendant's family are left right together with a little aisle in between.
Yeah.
So that's very traumatic because you have people making faces at you. I mean, and what is so interesting, what happened the night of my son's murder, he said, let's pick up a friend of his that was on the corner. And that friend ended up being the witness. And before he could testify, he testified in the preliminary, and then he was shot.
Did he live?
He lived. He was in the car with his cousin. Somebody came out the alleyway and shot him. And fortunately, the gun jammed, and the cousin drove off, and he ended up in the hospital. So he did testify for the trial. And after the trial, well, before the trial, I told the DA, I said, you have to help him leave Philadelphia.
Right.
And I had talked to him, and I asked him, you know, do you have anywhere to go? And he said, I have family in Florida I can go to. And that's where he went.
So then, and the reason I asked you about whether or not there was justice is because there is the victim's family, but then there is also the shooter's family. And every time you have a murder, every time you have a shooting, every time you have an act of violence in Philadelphia, it's not just the one or two or three or four people who are involved in it. It's also those families, Melanie. And so when you talk about victims, really for me, when I look at it, it's not just the family of the shooter, but it's also the of the person who was shot, but it's also the family of the shooter, because they're not the people who are out there committing this crime, but they're affected by it as well.
They are. And I've seen some where the defendant's family is actually nasty to the victim's family.
Yeah.
So just like Ms. Green said, Ms. Vivian said, the judges, this is doing preliminary for the homicides. The other assaults and everything like that is in the regular courtroom. But in the homicide courtroom, they're encased in glass, but then you have the defendant and you have the victim, and their families.
Yeah.
There's no barriers. So I've seen it where the defendant's family is really nasty, and sometimes there's video footage. So you actually see the homicide take place. And can you imagine the victim's family hearing negative comments from the offender's family, the defendant's family? And it just gets ugly real quick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's part of what happens in the criminal justice center, and the sheriffs are the people who are supposed to keep order there. And it's one of the things that I've heard from Rochelle Bilal, who is probably going to be our next sheriff, that's something that needs to be addressed, because it takes to a whole new level the crime, the trauma, the victimization, and everything else. And so now that we are at a point now where homicides have gone up year over year in the city of Philadelphia, everybody's talking about gun violence, but this is not a new issue. And as you alluded to, Victoria, it was much worse in the 90s with the advent of crack cocaine. So what are we doing? What do we need to do differently, Melanie, in the city of Philadelphia to deal with this issue of gun violence in your view?
So let me tell you what's scary for me. We have a whole lot of young African-American men that are being killed. We have a whole lot of young African-American men that are doing the killing. We need to look at what happened to these men.
Right.
Are they traumatized?
Right.
I'm not excusing any behavior, but what's going on in their household? Do they see this from their daddy, from their uncle, from their cousins? So what's going on? Were they bred this way?
Right.
And unfortunately, when I go to schools and I'm speaking to these young people, they're not afraid to die young. That's scary. And then we have elementary school children who see shootings and are traumatized every single day. This is the norm today.
That's right.
This is so sad.
In some communities.
I agree.
Because I think that, you know, for the most part, and we have to keep this in mind, it's like 685,000 black people in Philadelphia, right? There were around 2,200 shootings last year. Everybody didn't die, thank God for that. But that is, even if 80% of them are black, and that's about the number,
Right.
That is such a small percentage of the people in our community that I don't think we really know that, because it just seems so much bigger, because it's such a traumatic thing when somebody is shot. But it's not that many people involved in this. When you look at the number of black folks in Philly.
I agree, Solomon. It's not that many people, but for me, one is too many.
Yeah.
Now, I service the 5th, 14th, 35th, and 39th. Now, the 5th is back Roxborough, East Falls, Manioc, and all of that.
Yeah.
So I did a 7-year, 8-year data analysis. Within that time, they had 2 homicides. Okay, so you bring that up in their neighborhood. We have a problem. What about the 14th?
Yeah.
What about the 35th? What about the 39th? So I understand what you're saying. It's not like this. We don't want to blow it out of proportion, this big number. But guess what? I deal with homicides on a daily basis. I deal with shootings on a daily basis. I have so many young brothers who have been shot and are now paralyzed. Their whole lives are changed. So for that small number, Solomon, that's too much for me.
I know it's too much, but I don't ever want us to say that this is the norm in our community, because it's not.
In some communities, it's the norm.
It's not the norm in our community, because most of us, the vast majority of us, are not involved in it. And so the question becomes, how do we fix what's happening with those who are in the minority in our community, and a small minority in our community? I know as you say, Victoria, every murder is real. It's real for the families. It's real for the community. It's real for the victim. It's real for the doer. It's real for everybody. But how do we get to the point where the vast majority of people in our community actually rule? Because right now we are in our communities at the mercy of this small minority that's involved in this.
True.
How do we fix it?
And you can speak to this too, Ms. Green. And this is what when I'm at these community meetings.
Yeah.
Which I go a lot. I have a lot of them, and it's us.
That's right.
It's not the people that are on the corner.
That's right.
It's not the, say, drug dealers. It's not the people that are wreaking the havoc within the community. It's not them. Are we talking to them? What's your need? Are you robbing people because you're hungry, because you can't get food? How do we supply that need? So that's what I think the lack is. We're not speaking to them, and we don't see what their need is.
So there was somebody else who was supposed to be involved in this conversation, and did not want to be involved in the conversation. He'd taken some time off for his own mental health, because this is traumatic dealing with this, right? But in looking at what we do in the city of Philadelphia, there are a number of agencies that are supposed to be dealing with this problem. There are millions of dollars that are spent every year. The same people are dealing with this, and it's not getting any better. That's one of the points that this other person raised with me, and I think it is a valid point. And so given that we are spending millions of dollars with the same agencies and the same people every single year, and it's not getting better, is there something that we need to do different? Is there a better use for those resources that will actually make this thing stop, that will actually reach the people who are involved in it?
Can I speak on that,
go ahead.
Solomon? First of all, let's look at the fact that the family's victim is traumatized, the community is traumatized, the witnesses are traumatized.
Yeah.
So that's we have a traumatized city practically, and what I think is happening is the grassroots community organizations that are doing the work in the community on the ground level, we're not getting the funding.
Thank you.
We're just not. I have a group of young men, they're on the street. They don't get paid. They don't get paid. And they have to work jobs to live. So the city is not investing in the community, really. And like Melanie said, how do we reach the shooters? We need people on the ground, talking in the community. I was with a group of young men and a minister on the corner, Germantown and Worcester. What you have to do, first of all, you got to give something, clothes, hats, scarves for the winter to draw them in. Then, if you have some information about jobs, you can get in a conversation with them and get close to them. And that's so important. What I do in my community, when I see young guys walking, I speak to them. And they look at me, they probably say, oh, this crazy old woman. And I keep speaking to them until they speak back.
Mm-hmm.
And when they say, hey, Mom, then I can get in a conversation with them and find out what's going on in their lives. Are they in school? Are they working? And they start revealing information to me. But let me say this that's important. We do workshops with the Mural Arts program. They have a program called the Guild.
Let's talk about it on the other side of the break, because we are right up against the break. So we're going to go to break, and on the other side, we'll get the explanation of this program. We're talking with Victoria Green of Every Murder is Real, and we're talking with Melanie Nelson of Northwest Victim Services about the gun violence that's going on in our community. We're going to take your calls also on the other side, 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
You asked for it, and you've got it.
The rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith, will be in the community now more than ever.
I'm out in these streets.
With Word Show on the Go. Hosted by the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith.
Holla at your boy.
Learn where you can catch Word Show on the Go at wordradio.com.
Or search the hashtag Word Show on the Go.
For more information, follow us on social media at onWURD. And stay tuned to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
And wordradio.com. Word Family.
Here's a deal from Dietz & Watson that you don't want to miss.
Stop in to any Brown ShopRite this week to take advantage of Dietz & Watson Black Forest Ham, yours for just $5.99 per pound. For the best sandwiches or favorite snack time, pick up delicious Dietz & Watson Black Forest Ham.
Running today through Sunday. Stop into any Brown ShopRite location and pick up tasty Black Forest Ham for the whole family. 1 week only. Get yours today. Dietz & Watson. It's a family thing. Support independent black media and join the Forward movement now at 215-425-7875.
Or visit wordradio.com.
Do you have high blood pressure, diabetes, kidney issues, thyroid problems, sleep apnea, cardiovascular disease, tooth problems? All of these issues are related. Slaves were appraised initially by their teeth on the auction block. Having a healthy dental condition usually translates to good overall health. Champion Dentistry wants you to have both. Call Champion Dentistry today, 215-473-4717, and schedule a dental consultation. That's 215-473-4717.
Now, a traffic update
on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Unbound.org. Traffic still jammed southbound 95 this morning. Cottman down through Girard. Again, 420 to the Highland Avenue. Earlier accident finally cleared. Northbound, though, you're jammed from the state line up to the Commodore Barry Bridge. An accident there involving an overturned van. Schuylkill Expressway both ways, east and westbound busy. Westbound Vine, you're heavy from 8th Street out through the Schuylkill Expressway. The Boulevard Route 1 southbound 9th Street down. Make it from 3rd Street down to past Broad. Still jammed there this morning. 55 north jammed. Deptford in the 42. 42 northbound Coles Road at 295 heavy. Ben Franklin Bridge, a busy ride from the midspan into Center City this morning. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. I'm Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Back by popular demand.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD. We are talking about the gun violence that's happening in our communities. And we're talking with Victoria Green of Every Murder is Real and Melanie Nelson of Northwest Victim Services. We were talking about money because there's a lot of money being spent to address the issue of violence. A lot of studies being done, a lot of folks who are getting paid year after year after year, and the violence is not going down. And Victoria, you were talking about that issue. So go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, what I wanted to say about the workshop, which is young men and women who are on parole or probation, and I asked within the workshop, we tell our story about my son, the murder, and we also talk about the issue of racism. And what's interesting, I asked them, what is the message that you get from society? And what is the message that you get from your home sometimes? And they said, we ain't, I don't know if I can curse.
You can't.
They said, we ain't shit.
But you did it anyway. All right. And okay. Thank you. Melanie, we're talking about the issue of these organizations and the money, and we were talking off the air. And so I just want you to tell the listeners what you think.
Okay. So let me clear some things up for you. So Northwest Victim Services was actually the first community-based agency created and dedicated to helping victims of crime within the northwest section of Philly. It went so well, 6 other agencies were born. So we have those community-based agencies.
Okay.
And then other agencies came forth, and Mayor being one, which is a great agency, and we collaborate. I believe in collaboration, which is great. So we receive funding from PCCD, and then we also receive a little bit of funding from the DA's office. We don't receive millions and millions of dollars. We have 5 people in our office. I just hired a 6th person, and we work nonstop. I have my cell phone, that my victims can reach me anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm also my cleaning person because I can't afford a cleaning person.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I take out my trash. So we don't receive that, but we have data to prove that we are serving victims and witnesses and their family members day in and day out. So I can't speak to the other organizations that have come forth and are receiving all of this money. I can just speak to the great work that Northwest Victim Services is doing, and to say we need funding, but we have the data to back up all of the great work that we're doing. So
one of the things that happened in Philadelphia, there were a couple of models that worked in the 70s. It was the violence was driven by something different. It was gang violence, and you had the House of Umoja, where they actually brought in gang members and had them live in this house together. And that helped to quell gang violence in West Philadelphia in particular. Then you had the Crisis Intervention Network that was run by Benny Swans, and Benny Swans actually had people go out onto the street, people who were ex-offenders, people who had been in that life, who had dealt with violence, go out into the street, talk to these young men. He was able to get mothers involved. He was also able to get the city involved through parole and probation. Like, okay, look, you have a choice. You can either go back to jail, or we can make sure that you get some kind of employment. Those were 2 models that worked. But then you had another model very recently in the city of Philadelphia. It was run out of the West Division of the Philadelphia Police Department, and it was based on police going out to street corners with employers and targeting those who were involved in the violence, and getting those brothers and sisters into employment. And that was short-lived. It did not get the kind of support that it needed, according to some of the key people who were involved in it. And so now you'll probably see it coming out of another city office. But, those kind of innovative models, where are they?
Well, let me say this, Solomon, and sorry for that.
Okay.
But just like Melanie said, we have 5 people in our office, and we get funding from PCCD. We get no funding from the DA's office or the city in any way. So, and like she said, we need more resources. But speaking on the programs that you're talking about and gangs, first of all, the city won't acknowledge that we have gangs.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to community meetings with the police, and I've asked about gangs, and they said, oh, well, we don't have gangs like in Chicago. But we have gangs. We have gangs. And the problem is with our gangs now, we don't have leaders of the gang. So back in the 70s, you could go to the leader of the gang and talk about how do you quell a beef. How do stop that? And I think that's how they were able to bring. I know they had a gang summit back then to bring them together. And also, like Melanie said, we're not. There doesn't seem an investment in the community organizations that actually can get some work done. And like she said, the other organizations will get a lot of money. But are they really reaching the people that need the help? And that's it.
All right, Melanie, what do you think?
I know that the so-called gangs are not like they used to be, and I think they're structured much differently, and they're blocks now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could live on my block. But be a part of your gang on your block.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that conflict that it creates. So, back in the day when we was growing up, it was Brickyard and, that's no more. Nope. So it's not like the community say gang. We're dealing with street blocks now. So it's different. It's a whole dynamic.
Then it's driven by something different too, because now you have drug dealing, you have money that's involved in it, which is different from what you had, say, in the 70s. That was a different dynamic in terms of why people organize themselves into gangs. I'm going to go to the phone lines, and we're going to talk with Falami from East Falls online too. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm calling because I totally agree with the ladies there. Solomon, recently they had a grant come out for grassroots people, and they were supposed to get like $20,000. And when they first had the grant out, they were really target more towards grassroots people. But at the end, after the election, the money went to other people who maybe there were favors owed to, But there's a lot of people on the grassroots, on the ground, that really are solution driven, but we don't get the support. And I would truly say it has to come together with the mayor. He has to get tired of this. That's what happened up in New York. He got tired, and he has to really get tired. When I mean he has to get tired, he has to bring programs in with even the younger children. When someone has experienced a homicide and they go get therapy, there's one therapist. My daughter witnessed a murder. I helped that case like this mother on the phone. I called up homicide. I told them that my daughter just witnessed a murder. They were so laxated. I told my daughter, get out there, run in the street, zigzag. I'm going to come get you. She was down the bottom. She's still traumatized. She thinks someone shot right in her face. And there's really not a lot of services. I'm on the ground. I'm in schools. And the thing about the schools, the principals decide whether they want your program.
That's true. That's true.
Circles. They decide whether they want your program. How do you live in the suburbs, come in our community and say, well, we don't want this program here. The children, so I have 10 men that I talk to up in the prison. We need to bring them as consultants. And this is what I wrote in my grant. I said I would like to have brother circles, sister circles, and I have 10 men who are consultants and up at Mahoney. And I said, this is what they told me. I said, what do y'all think we should do? Because y'all live this lifestyle. They said the number one thing, we need to talk. We need to talk. He said, and that's how old head get us up here. Old head and them get us, and they need to talk. We'll put them on FaceTime. We'll put them on the phone, and we'll let them talk. And we need the conversation to start with our younger children. But we need a mayor that's going to really be about it and not give his friends. I wrote 10 proposals to the mayor. And if he answered it, I don't know who answered it. I told him because it starts from the beginning. So I do it from the beginning. I do it from childbirth. I've been from the whole system. I worked in the Holmesburg Prison, Youth Study Center, DHS, school district, and I also volunteer and help young teenage moms.
Falami, I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. We appreciate you. We got to get to a couple more people. Antoinette from Southwest is on line 1. Go ahead, Antoinette.
Good morning. I just want to give my condolences to the guests that you have present there, because I can, relate, to their situation and circumstances. And also I wanted to give, because they do have it in the police district, the community assistance program that's supposed to give assistance to those that need burial and funeral services, and including those like bystanders that intervene, to help the victim.
Okay, Antoinette, thank you. Melanie, you want to speak to that?
I do. So, and I'll answer your question. So Northwest Victim Services, as well as AMIR, so we help victims of crime within the Northwest section of Philadelphia, whether it be homicide, assault, stolen cash. So we help them, and we help them file a claim through the Victims Compensation Program.
Yeah.
All of our services are free. We ask for nothing, including therapy. We help victims with unpaid medical bills, lost time from work, funeral expenses, counseling, mileage, relocation, loss of support. And we're also in the Criminal Justice Center 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Okay.
So we assist, yes, we do assist victims and witnesses and family members with that, along with the victim assistance officer that's placed in every single police district throughout Philadelphia.
All right. Let's go to Abdul-Jabbar from West Philly on line 3. Go ahead, Abdul-Jabbar.
Good morning. How you guys doing today?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Hi.
I'm good. I'm just so happy to hear the passion that your guests have in this mission, toward this mission. I would love to be able to assist, and I'm going to reach out to you. You said it's Northwest
Victim Services.
Northwest. Okay, I'm going to reach out to you, and I feel that it is very important to get to the shooters, and that's the part that I'm going to get to reach out to her about, because I made a comment on Dal Schuler's page the other day about street etiquette, this conversation that needs to be had about the shooting that's going on. And it's like there aren't enough men that are coming together across the city, and I think that we are actually, it's time for it to happen. That's all I got to say.
All right, man. Well, I want to thank you so much for your call. Ladies, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Victoria Green from Every Murder is Real, Melanie Nelson from Northwest Victim Services. How do people get in touch with you, Melanie, for Northwest Victim Services?
They can actually contact me directly on my cell, 267-808-0350.
All right. And Victoria Green, Every Murder is Real. How do people get in touch?
Well, yes, we're located at 59 East Haines Street, like Melanie said, in the northwest section of the city. Our phone number is 215-848-4068, and my number is 267-997-5034, and our website is emirphilly.com. But I want to say this before I leave, piggybacking on what Melanie
We only got about 10 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay. The city has budgeted $36 million for the opioid and $700,000 for community groups. Now, compare the numbers. That's all I got to say.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much. We got to go to break. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WRD. We'll be right back.
The Shamari Show. Fridays 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Word Radio.
And streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Now's the time to get your home ready for any season with a Pico Energy Assessment. For just $25, a Pico Energy Advisor will come to your home and recommend ways to make your home more efficient and more comfortable year-round. Schedule your assessment today at pico.com/assessment or call 1-888-5-PICO-SAVE. That's pico.com/assessment or call 1-888-5-PICO-SAVE. Plus, you may be eligible for an assessment for free.
Word family, our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they're hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days of employment. Call Scott Drummond at 856-754-0360 or visit amorosos.com for details.
Hey everybody, it's the Rap Professor. We want you to come party with WURD Radio for our annual Food and Wellness Festival. We'll also be holding our annual Best Barbecue Contest as part of the festival. And I'll be hosting live. This will be the final day to start or renew your onWURD membership at the special early bird rate of just $75. That's Friday, June 28th at the Fresh Grocer on Monument Road, 4160 Monument Road. Bring the whole family.
This Thursday, the Dell Music Center presents the After Work Party in the Park from 6 to 8 p.m. The party will be rocking with music mixed by DJ Gary O.
The Turntable Assassin.
There'll be food, beverages, and snacks while supplies last. Discounted tickets and prizes that include a big screen TV, dinner at your choice of Warm Daddy's or Kelsey's Restaurant, along with other prizes. It's gonna be crazy. Pick up your discounted tickets to these upcoming shows: the OJs, Neo, The Whispers, India Ari, Anthony Hamilton, God, KRS-One, Keith Sweat, and Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. It's going down Thursday, June 27th at the Dell Music Center. Extended box office hours from 6 till 8 p.m. Music mixed by DJ Gary O.
It's gonna be a hot summer.
Discounted tickets, food, beverages, and prizes. Come out, get your tickets, and enter to win prizes. This is how they throw an after-work party at the Dell Music Center.
Drive in
with Solomon Jones.
Drive home
with Charles Ellison.
This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Philadelphia, independent black media. Word Radio News Update
with Vincent Thompson.
Good morning. Here's the latest from the Word Radio Newsroom, 96.1 FM and 900 AM. The announcement yesterday that Center City's Hahnemann University Hospital and the Philadelphia Energy Solutions oil refinery will close will mean the loss of 3,500 jobs. Hahnemann will close by September the 6th. The ownership group cited unsustainable financial losses for its reasoning to close. Word Radio news partner NBC 10 Philadelphia has obtained a letter from the mayor's office to the owner of Hahnemann stating they wanted assurances in writing by 10 a.m. today that emergency services would not end or decrease before July 12th. The letter also warned Hahnemann to not take rash actions threatening substantial harm to patients, employees, and the city. In a letter to Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf, the Philadelphia State House and Senate delegations urged the governor to provide emergency funding in order to save the hospital, calling a closure a public health emergency. Employees will be joined by elected officials at a City Hall rally this afternoon. The Philadelphia Energy Solutions oil refinery in South Philadelphia will close within the next month and go up for sale. In a statement, the company said last Friday's massive fire at the facility made it impossible to continue operations. Mayor Jim Kenney says he will convene a group to look at the economic repercussions of shutting down the refinery. The refinery has the largest production on the East Coast, and the sudden announcement of its closure is likely to have an effect on gas prices. Philadelphia Energy Solutions emerged from bankruptcy protection in October 2018. At the time, the limited liability company owed the state and local government more than $3 billion. The amounts were negotiated down to tens of thousands of dollars. Heat wave number 1 in Philadelphia for 2019 is in its second day today. The Philadelphia area forecast for today will be partly sunny and hot, high of 92 degrees. Humidity will be rising, and the heat index will feel like 92 to 95 degrees. And on Friday, the Delaware Valley will reach a high temperature in the mid-90 degrees with a heat index approaching 100 degrees. Checking sports, the Phillies now have a 3-game winning streak after defeating the New York Mets in extra innings last night. Phil's player Jay Bruce ripped a double in the bottom of the 10th inning to bring home the winning run. The Phils will try to sweep the Mets when they play this afternoon. Goaltender Brian Elliott will be returning to the Flyers on a 1-year, $2 million contract, and Flyers development camp continues today in Voorhees, New Jersey. The camp ends on Saturday. This newscast is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Lottery. Play Winner Winner Chicken Dinner, the new scratch-off game from the Pennsylvania Lottery. Players must be 18 years old or older. Please play responsibly. Vincent Thompson, Word Radio News.
Back by popular demand.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD. It is hot outside Kuwesa. I think it's going up to 90 something today. Is that right? Yeah, I think it's going to be that hot.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be that hot. So, but you know what? This is normal. This is normal. We have to deal with the fact that it is late June. We are going into July. And this is our natural climate. This is what the melanin is for, to help us deal with this. This is what our curly hair is for, to help us deal with this. And so this is natural for us, and we shouldn't. No, you're not here for it.
I'm sorry, I hate being hot, yo. But I look better when I'm tan, when I'm kissed by the sun.
How about
better.
that? How about
so,
that?
So you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah. What about you, Valerie?
You had me when you said that. When you said, this is what our melanin is for. I was like, okay, because I love the fall and the winter. But when you said that, I was like, wait a minute. He on to something. I'm like, I think I like the summer now. You put it that way.
Yeah. I like it. I mean, I love dealing with, this time of year. And the only thing I don't like about it, I like quiet. I'm born in the wintertime. I like quiet. And it's quiet in the wintertime. Our folks be in the house in the wintertime. I like that. You know what I'm saying? So we want to hear from you. We've been talking about some serious issues this morning, including violence and what we can do about it. And I want to know what you think. So give me a call at 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. I'm going to go to the phone lines, and we're going to talk with Gary from Southwest on line 1.
Hey, good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
And also Kuwesa. I just wanted to make a comment. I was listening to I think it was the last guest you had on, and she was talking about the amount of funding for the opioid crisis, and then the measly 700 some odd thousand to deal with the violence in our city.
For community agencies, she said.
Well, yeah, for community agencies, okay. But that's just really telling about the real seriousness of how our so-called leaders in this city are concerned about our people. And that's always been an issue. And we have to stop supporting people who really aren't trying to help us. We have a lot of issues in the black community, and there's a lot of reasons for those issues. But for them to only fund, say, 700 and some odd thousand for these community organizations, people who are working, boots on the ground, is insulting. That is insulting, in my opinion, to the black community overall. They can sit back in their offices down in City Hall and think they've really done something, but they really haven't. And we have to stop allowing them to just disrespect us on such a large, grand scale. There's nothing they can say to explain why that funding is so small. I think we have over a $300 million surplus in this city. Where is our money going? Where is our tax money going? And why don't we have any say-so? And why aren't the people whose salaries and benefits that we pay, and they make a handsome salary along with all the other perks they get, why aren't they really addressing the issue of what's happening in the black community, Solomon? That's all I wanted to say.
All right, thanks, Gary. We appreciate your call to WURD Radio. If you want to get in, it's 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. That's the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD, and let us know where you are in any of these things we are talking about this morning. Of course, on the other side of the break, Jay McCalla is going to be joining us to talk about that political foolery going on in Washington, D.C. and beyond. Very curious to know what he thinks about that debate that happened last night. But I'm also curious to hear from you. And so we are on Facebook Live at onWURD. And I think we have some comments there. What are they saying on Facebook, Valerie?
So Miss Kendall Fuller actually said Philadelphia is #1 in poverty. If you fix that, she guarantees that the largest amount of crime is in the pockets of poverty communities that are high. So you solve that, you solve the problem. Then we have Andre Hicks, usual listener. He said people have to start speaking up, but they're afraid to talk. People fear for their families. When people give up information, they have nowhere to go but home, where the perpetrators may be waiting. And then we have Regina Neely, who said the numbers may be small, however, it is affecting too many of us. In her family, her son and grandson were murdered 5 years apart. So perhaps there is data regarding how many families have experienced loved ones being murdered. And she did go to Emir to deal with the trauma, and they were at least 6 or 7 families there. Many of the victims are not engaged in street crimes as it was years ago.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm hearing these comments, and all of them I think are right on point. I think that when you have so many people in our community who are not involved in this, why isn't the majority ruling, right? And I understand that the people who are involved in it, they have guns, and they many of them don't care about using them, don't care about your life, don't care about their own. But when they are outnumbered to the point where they are, I think something has to be said about that, right? And so are we so conditioned to mind our own business that we just allow this to just happen and allow ourselves to just be punked, right, by people who are, there's 5 or 6 people in a community controlling what happens concerning this violence. What do you think, Valerie?
I guess it's one of those things where I get the whole idea of the bystander effect and also fearing for your life in terms of like intervening and stopping certain situations. But I think that's the only way that we as a community and as a whole can really get by, even though it's a risk, but I feel like it's also a risk worth taking in the end.
What do you think? What do you think, Kwesa?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me because I think about the fact that, when one person dies, it doesn't just impact their family, but it also impacts all the people that they might have come in contact with who they love. And so, we know that the numbers are smaller, but at the same time, when you think about maybe, the tens of, or maybe even like 100 people that they might have known, then we see one of the reasons why, it does hit people a little bit bigger than even what the numbers say because of the fact that, they were intertwined into the community. And so, I can only hope that, eventually we'll be able to get to a point where we can tackle this and do things like, eliminating poverty. If you had people have reasonable jobs where they can live their lives and they can, live off of the money that they make, then I think that we would see that the violence would decrease. Because
I agree. I think it would decrease. The one thing I do need to say is this: some people just going to be criminals. I mean, that's what they want to do. That's what they're gonna do, right? So, for some people, and it doesn't matter what background they come from. If they have all the money in the world, the love of money is the root of all evil, right? And so you have some people who are going to be engaged in that anyway. But I agree wholeheartedly that if you tackle the issue of poverty, if you make sure that people actually have enough to eat, have a roof over their head, have the means to rise without doing something illegal, then you're right, the violence would go down. One of the things one of the arguments that I fight against constantly is the one where people say, oh, well, I have to do this. This is what I have to do. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's a lie from the pit of hell. You don't have to do that. You doing it because that's what you want to do, right? You doing it because you don't want to look at the other choices that you have. You doing it because you want to. So don't tell me that because I live in this community, I have to do that. No, you don't. There are so many people, man, who come out of our poorest, most challenged communities and are able to do just great things because they want to. But I think part of what those who are not involved in that, part of what we have to do is we have to show people other alternatives. Because while you don't have to do that, you might think you have to do it because you ain't never seen nothing else. And then you got other people saying how terrible you are when they won't do anything to help you see something else. And so it's on all of us. It really is, man. We have to do more. Yes, we have to tackle the issue of poverty, but we have to do it in a hands-on way where we are showing people something different so that they know they have a choice. Let's go to Katrina from Overbrook on line 1. Go ahead, Katrina.
Good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
I just want to call in and say, thank God we do got $700,000 to go towards it. It could be more, but it leads back to this too. Y'all had a chance to come out and vote. And nobody did.
Say it again. Please say that again.
Had a chance to come out and vote.
Thank you.
It's so important to put people who have your same goals and beliefs in these seats. And that's all I want to say is that you got to come out. I mean, to the listeners that's listening this morning who have opinions about how much money was given and how much little we have, y'all got to come out and vote. Y'all got to show up. That's all I want to say this morning.
And you're right. And see, and I want to thank you, Katrina, for your call. This is the importance of voting, right? The people that we put in office are the ones who decide how our money is spent. You just going to let them just decide how your money is spent. You ain't got nothing to say about it. And then afterward complain that, oh, they spent the money the wrong way. Well, it's too late now. You sat there, and guess what? Your non-vote is a vote. Your non-vote is a vote for the status quo. Your non-vote is a vote for all the stuff that you don't like because you couldn't bother to walk 2 or 3 blocks to the polling place, stay there for 5 minutes and vote. Come on, man. Miss me with that because, you know, you can't complain about how the money is spent when you won't take the time to let your voice be heard on who's making those decisions. I mean, we gotta connect the dots. This is about money. Voting is about money. That's what it's about. It's about how that money they take out of your check before you even say it is spent. I'm going to go back to the phone lines, and we're going to talk with Lloyd from Hamilton on line 2. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Yeah, good morning, man, and I appreciate you guys, man, for, informing us, keeping us up to date with what's going on, man. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I wanted to say that something you were saying that, people do things because they just do it, something about how you said they want to do it. They do it because they want to do it, whatever excuse they use is the excuse they use. But it's that saying, how people keep saying all the time, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I find a problem with that because it's not it is what it is. That's what you allow it to be. We can make change, and like I am one of the people that do not vote, but I am training my brain to understand that, and I know I need to. I was incarcerated when I lived in that jail, I was a part of that population. So they used me. I was a part of the constituency and didn't even know. You know what I mean? So that's what happens. But I'm going to get more involved, and I want to understand it. I'm going to go vote. My girlfriend told me you got to get into that. My mind, changing my mind. You change your mind, you change your reality.
I know that's right. And Lloyd, I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Haraya from Ardmore is on line 3. Go ahead, Haraya.
Yes, good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
You know what, Solomon? Back in the early 90s, and everybody across the city saw it, we took a grassroots program and taught the young people of North Philadelphia entrepreneur skills. It gave them hope, Solomon. It showed them potential. It gave them a little change in their pocket, and taught them entrepreneurial skills. Even though we didn't have it formulated into a formal program or whatever, what I'm saying is that young person that wanted to get a pair of sneakers or whatnot, they felt encouraged. They didn't feel like they had to look to the drug dealer on the corner as their only hope. And everybody across the city saw these groups of youth down when they had the movie theaters down on Chestnut Street selling their flowers and this, that, and the other. But the city was so much more concerned with a license and this, that, and the other. Like, I mean, how much taxes did you think that the kid was going to make? Did you see him riding in Rolls Royce or buying houses in the suburbs? But here's the point, Solomon. It's not so much we can keep knocking our heads together. It's these businesses that can't afford labor that want to keep this pipeline to prison going because they can't afford to function, okay? It's not so much that you're looking at the kids. Let me tell you, those kids showed up for work each and every day, took their flowers out there, sold their flowers, got their little pay, and this, that, and the other. If somebody works with them, they want to do right.
I hear you, and I want to thank you for your call. Tony from Delaware is on line 1. Go ahead, Tony.
Good morning. So
Good morning.
You're encouraging everyone to come out and vote, in larger numbers, right? So now if they do that, the people that are in there now that look like the people that you want to vote, they're going to vote for them same people who are going to be doing the same thing.
How you know that? How do you know that?
Well, because just like on your show, you basically qualify an individual just because of their skin color.
That's not true. That's not true.
Right there.
That's not true.
Okay,
that's not true. And so
from what I hear, that is how you do it. That's how you roll.
No, that's not. You don't know me, dog. You don't know me at all. Like you calling from Delaware. You ain't never seen me before in your life. Don't tell me what I think, how I feel, how I qualify people. You don't know me. And so, I want to thank you for your call. But, I mean, how you going to tell somebody that you don't know what they think? Like, how does that work? How does that work? And how are you going to tell people in Philadelphia what they're going to do when you don't even live here? How does that work? Like, you don't know me. You don't know us. Come on, man, stop. So, yes, I believe people should vote because it is about their community. It is about their money. It is about who is in a position to make decisions. And so we could very well put up another candidate or a slew of candidates for people to vote for so that they have other choices. And we support people who support us, whether they're black, white, Asian, Latino, or otherwise. We support people who support us, and we work together in coalitions in order to make that happen. And so to have this impression of us as these stupid people who somehow are going to keep supporting those who don't support us, you don't know much about us at all. We are going to go to break, and on the other side, we are going to continue this conversation with Jay McCalla talking about the political foolery going on in Washington, D.C. and beyond. This hour is brought to you by Power. Philadelphians organized to witness, empower, and rebuild. For more information, visit powerinterfaith.org. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Brothers and sisters,
Don't miss The Source
weekdays 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
on Word Radio.
WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
AARP presents the Black Music Makers Minute. Stevie Wonder has been listened to and loved by millions of fans for well over 50 years. Yet many of us don't even know his last name.
That ain't right.
Although Stevie is a wonder, that's not his last name. What do you think? Is it A, Moore, B, Morris, or C, Monroe? Time's up. Stevie Wonder's birth name is Steve Land Morris. Born May 13th, 1950 in Saginaw, Michigan. If you said B, you were absolutely right. AARP celebrates June and Black Music Month. Keep listening for more Black Music Makers Minutes, only on this station.
Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM. WURD. This is the Moravia Health Home Care Tip. The bond between a patient and their caregiver is very important. Empathy and attentiveness are crucial to fostering a trusting relationship with your loved one. When selecting a home care aide for your loved one to help with daily tasks such as cooking, cleaning, and companionship, Inquire as to why the candidate chose caregiving as a profession. The right caregiver will have a good mix of professionalism and a nurturing, caring nature. Many families do not know, but the law now allows for a family member to be a paid home care worker. With training through Moravia Health, caring for your loved one directly just became easier. Moravia Health is dedicated to delivering quality care to patients in the comfort of their home. For more information about Moravia Health, call 215-717-8650. That's 215-717-8650. Or visit moraviahealth.com. Moravia Health, because there's no place like home. A place like home, too, located at 2276 Georges Lane, provides a clean and active environment for seniors, including referrals, daily cognitive therapy, podiatry, exercise, arts, and crafts. Call 215-878-1200 now.
We are progressive and proud and interactive.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at onWURD. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Streaming live at wordradio.com.
Now, a traffic update
on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Unbound.org. Still a mess, I-95 in Delaware County, northbound. You are at a jam still from the state line up to the Commodore Barry Bridge. Accident cleared. It was an overturned van. That's gone. But just a big jam as a result of that earlier crash. Southbound side, Cottman down through Girard, jammed again 420 down the Highland Avenue. Schuylkill Expressway both ways, east and westbound. You jam through the Philly area. Westbound Vine generally from 95 out through the Schuylkill Expressway busy. Southbound Boulevard, Route 1, that's jammed approaching 3rd Street down to past Broad. Just a heavy ride there. Northbound side, no problems. 42 northbound this morning. 168 through 295, jam 55, jam northbound Deptford in the 42, Ben Franklin Bridge still busy in Philadelphia. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org. For more traffic information, log on to SigAlert.com. I'm Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on Word Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Don't do it.
Now, with more clarity, this is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Streaming live at wordradio.com.
The Political Source
with Vincent Thompson.
On the next,
you're waking up
with Word,
hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on Word Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM WURD. And no, we are not talking with Akbar Hassan, nor are we talking with Vincent Thompson. We're actually talking with Jay McCalla.
I like both those guys. Akbar, I like them both.
Yeah, absolutely. We that's all right. That's all right. It's live radio, y'all, and Kawesa is doing her thing. We appreciate her. And so this is Jay McCalla. Jay, good morning.
Good morning, Solomon. How you doing?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm feeling fine. As I drove in, I was on 95. I didn't know whether to turn the air conditioning on, to leave the windows a little cracked, but this is a kind of nice, I know the afternoon's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But this is a nice morning.
Yeah, it is a nice morning. And, of course, Jay is qualified to say that because he held senior positions in both the Rendell and Street administrations. A veteran political consultant. He is a columnist for the Chestnut Hill Local. Work also appears in the Philadelphia Inquirer. He brings deep knowledge to politics and does so from an African-American perspective. Jay, I think the first thing that we have to talk about before we do anything else is talk about the first half of the Democratic debate. It was on last night. Who are the winners? Who are the losers? And how will that debate affect the race? What do you think, Jay?
Well, I'll tell you, in terms of Solomon, in terms of winners and losers, I'm kind of interested in including myself as one of the losers because I watched it from beginning to end, okay? I definitely lost 2 hours. I don't know what else I lost. Maybe a brain cell or two. Not that I had a lot to begin with, but that's what the debate did to me. You know what? There was no other way to do it, I guess, but 10 people on one stage was unfair to everybody, the candidates and the viewers. It's unfair, and yet it's a bit galling since a couple of those monkeys stand zero chance of getting elected, and they were just taking up space and breathing free air. I don't know what the heck they were doing there. I did discover that Democrats talk too darn much.
Yeah.
They all yap about the problem, but never get around to the solution. On gun violence, Cory Booker wanted us to know that there were shootings in his neighborhood. So what? I'm from Philly. We've got our own problems. What's the plan, Stan? Don't tell me that, oh, I understand. You know, tell me more. Nobody had a solution for shooters who attack schools. That's a national problem. Nobody had a solution for getting guns off the street. We've got more guns than we have people. Nobody had solutions, but they all wanted us to know that they understand the top, the bottom, the left, and the right of this problem. They understand it inside and out. And by the time they tell you how well they understand it, their lousy little 5 minutes were up. But I did learn something. I learned that 130,000 South Americans were taken prisoner at our southern border last month. That's a crime and a stench in the nostrils of our God. Apart from that, I didn't learn a doggone thing from not one of them. In fact, Julian Castro, he got on my nerves a little bit. He announced he would repeal Section 13-25 and Section 21 and Section 22 of the Immigration Code. What the heck was he talking about? I don't know those things. I'm not a cop. It's a 302 we're going to call out. No, I don't know what you're talking about, Julian, and I think you left a lot of us kind of in the intellectual dust there. Be more clear or do something different next time. But you're not on next time, okay? I think Booker and Elizabeth Warren both did themselves a little bit of good. Warren was her usual burst of energy, and as usual, she cut the rich a new way to breathe. I love that about her. Booker gave some forceful answers, and he scrunched up his face to let you know he really was sincere. That's what he does. He scrunches his face.
Stop it.
He does. Have you noticed how his eyebrow crooks? He gets his eyebrows go a little Sarah Sanders, and he gets this real sincere church boy look across his face, and he stares into the camera. Okay, you're a little bit desperate, like a puppy in the window, but hey, we'll consider adopting you, okay? Consider it. But Solomon, they all tap danced like chickens on a hot plate, and I refuse to watch another 2 hours of desperation TV. I'm taking suggestions for alternatives. Is there an Eddie Murphy movie on tonight, Solomon?
You know
Black Panther playing anywhere? Something. I need to. I'm not doing it again.
Right.
Yes, I'm not doing it again. Watching Joe Biden say what he says, and tonight is Pete, what's his name?
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think. Buttigieg to you. You know, but no, I'm not. I can't do it again.
Yeah.
No, I can't do it again.
Yeah. I felt bad because I'm looking at these people and I'm like, who are they?
Yes.
Most of them, I didn't know who they were.
Yes. And you're running for president of the the richest country in the world. I clean that up. We're not the greatest. We're the richest.
Yeah, we are the richest.
Who are you, Mokes?
Yeah.
There's that one little guy, Delaney, the guy losing his hair, who's a little Republican, and I wonder what his real reason for being in the race is. You know, so there's him. He didn't even dress nicely. I hate to go there, but he didn't even dress like a Democrat. He dressed like a retired Republican congressman, which is what he might have been. I don't know, but no, I can't do it again. I can't.
It's hard, and but let's talk about one of the guys that's going to be in the next half of this, and he is Pete Buttigieg. We have learned some things about Pete Buttigieg and his city in the last month or so. He's apparently overseeing a police department that's driven by racism. Given that the issue of policing is so important to black folks, Jay, what are your thoughts?
I'll tell you, Mayor Pete is in the midst of an existential crisis. It's all well and good that he can speak several languages and served in Afghanistan. That's great. But it's now very well understood that you can't get the Democratic nomination without the robust support of black voters. It's understood now. And Mayor Pete has a black problem. In South Bend, Indiana, when Buttigieg became mayor, his first act was to fire the black police chief. The chief had made a secret recording of racist remarks his cops were making, and Buttigieg made him pay a price for that. He fired him. It was never clear if Buttigieg ever acted on the racism his police chief uncovered. We just know that the police chief, the black police chief, lost his job. You can do the math. Now the boy mayor has to leave the campaign trail to deal with one of his white cops who shot a black man dead. The white officer's body cam was turned off. The dash cam in the patrol car was also turned off. So we have some reason to believe the cop may be lying. We don't know what happened. We just know it was black and white and it fits a pattern nationally. Buttigieg has a lot of angry black taxpayers who don't trust him, and that can kill his campaign. If it becomes common wisdom that the boy mayor can't attract black voters, smart donors will keep away and prominent national endorsements will also stay away. Chances of being vice president on somebody's ticket will be dead. This boy will die on the vine. Solomon, Pete Buttigieg came from nowhere, and there's a decent chance he's going right back.
That's what it looks like to me. You know, and I think that part of the issue is the way that he was covered. You know, he was pushed by the media as, oh, this guy is somebody different. He would break another glass ceiling.
Yeah.
And they didn't really look at him critically.
No.
They were so busy writing puff pieces about him, so busy pushing him as the next big thing, that they never looked at his background in the city where he was mayor. And it wasn't like it was hard to find it, Jay.
No. Just Google. And look, the media is like 4 or 5 beats behind. They covered him because he was novel, like a dog that can play the accordion. You know, that's what they presented Buttigieg to be. And they're not up to speed. You aren't viable because you speak 9 languages. You're not viable because you're whatever it is you seem to be in South Bend, Indiana. These days, it's understood you're not viable unless you've got black support. That's why you've got people talking about reparations from morn till night. Though I want to throw a bone to Bill de Blasio. He was the only one who, even briefly, because he's got a black son, he's the only one out of all of the 10 who even briefly mentioned police violence. And he still didn't really condemn the cops. He just said we need a better dialogue, which I think was kind of cowardly. We don't need a dialogue. We need restraints on these monsters. But no, I just think it was an interesting night. Pete Buttigieg, we'll see how he does tonight. I think he may be attacked maybe by somebody who might want to besmirch his access to black voters, because that would be huge and disqualifying. So we'll see what happens. So you got 2 people with an alleged race problem: Joe Biden, which nobody believes, and Pete Buttigieg, who may well be sinking because he don't talk black and he doesn't feel our pain.
Yeah, and the problems with that police department go well beyond just this shooting that took place. You know, he had another incident where there were 3 officers who broke into this guy's house and beat him. He's 17 years old at the time. They take the whole thing to federal court, and the federal jury in South Bend awards the family $18.
What?
That's right. Did you hear about it, Jay?
The media was preferring to cover this man who can speak 8 languages.
Right.
They were covering him like a dog that played the accordion.
Right.
Not like a real politician with a history.
Right.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so this was a huge story coming out of South Bend, Indiana, under Pete Buttigieg watch. And they asked, the community actually demanded that Mayor Pete apologize to the family. I could not find any record of him doing so. And so his relationship with the black community there is bad.
Yeah.
It's a bad relationship. They do not trust him. It's not just based on this shooting. It's based on the fact that after he fired he pushed him out, basically, because he I think demoted him, and then the guy eventually retired. He pushed him out.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like firing him. And so since he got rid of him, he brought in 2 other police commissioners, both of them white. The police department there is 90% white, and in fact has gotten less diverse under Pete's watch. And so this whole Mayor Pete is the greatest thing since sliced bread. They never looked at his relationship with the black community, and I think that says more about our media and how politics is covered than it says about him.
I think you're right, and I think consumers, we as African-American consumers of news from a mainstream media, one, keep checking in with WURD at 900 AM, but also when you keep hearing about this guy, ask yourself why. I know what sliced bread is. Sliced bread is terrific, but this guy is not sliced bread.
Yeah.
Everybody has a history, and when you see people beating up on a Joe Biden and giving this guy, Buttigieg, I'm even going to stop caring about pronouncing his name correctly pretty soon. But when you see this guy getting a literal free pass from the media, and I think tonight is going to reset his free pass. The media doesn't want to cover a racial problem for their fair-haired boy.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We're going to talk about more politics on the other side of this break with Jay McCalla. This is Blackball Politics. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Go with the Word Radio app. Search for WURD in your favorite app store today and take us with you wherever you go. Stay connected to Word Radio, independent black media.
Word family.
Here's a deal from Dietz & Watson that you don't want to miss.
Stop in to any Brown ShopRite this week to take advantage of Dietz & Watson Black Forest ham, yours for just $5.99 per pound. For the best sandwiches or favorite snack time, pick up delicious Dietz & Watson Black Forest ham.
Running today through Sunday. Stop into any Brown ShopRite location and pick up tasty Black Forest ham for the whole family. 1 week only. Get yours today. Dietz & Watson. It's a family thing. Be heard. Want another way to join the conversation?
Follow us on social media
using the hashtag onWURD.
Be heard.
Stay connected to Word Radio.
Independent black media.
Hey, Word family, this is Charles Ellison of Reality Check. Mark your calendars for Friday, June 28th for the 4WORD Wellness and Food Festival taking place at the Fresh Grocer of Monument Road, 4160 Monument Road. While you're there, start or renew your 4WORD membership on site and get your exclusive membership swag bag, including your very own Word baseball cap right in your hand. You don't want to wait for the festival? Start or renew your 4WORD membership anytime between now and June 28th to take advantage of our $75 early bird special. Join the 4WORD movement today so you can protect and preserve independent black media. We'll see you there on June 28th.
Independence is a precious thing, but now and then everyone needs a little help. Isn't it good to know that getting the help you need doesn't mean drastically changing your life? Always Best Care Philly and Delaware is there to give you just the amount of help you need, from a few hours a week to as many hours as you need, handling everything from light housekeeping to meals, and so much more. Don't struggle. Contact Always Best Care and see how easy it is to age in place. Call us at 267-909-9248 or visit abcphillybristol.com.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD, and we are back with Jay McCalla talking some of the political foolery that's going on in Washington, D.C. and beyond. Let's talk about Trump's war of words, Jay, with Iran. Is this playground name-calling going to lead to something that could affect us all? What do you think?
Solomon, we've seen this movie before where our crazed Godzilla of a president starts shooting off his mouth, spittle flying, and making insane lunatic threats. We've seen this before. This is Crazy Man Part 2. Look, remember how he threatened to destroy North Korea with, quote, fire and fury like the world has never seen,
I do.
unquote. Okay? Well, he's still off his meds, and he's making the same weird, wacky threats to Iran. He recently threatened to obliterate Iran. What the heck? We have a crazy man with his finger on the nuclear button Nobody can tell him no, and everybody acts like it's not the case.
Yeah.
Every day and in every way, Trump's evil mental illness is on full display as he cages brown children and denies them soap and toothpaste. A number of these children have died of illness and have been sexually assaulted in his custody. During his first month in office, we saw flashes of his mental illness when he threatened to invade Venezuela, and later when he invented, and I don't understand it, it sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon, but Trump invented Space Force. He funded it with billions of dollars. Space Force, okay?
Sounds like a movie.
Space Force.
What?
Yes. Look, with the Middle East, Trump is playing with fire, and he's far too stupid to know it. In my opinion, he's being ruthlessly manipulated by Israel and Saudi Arabia. Now Trump provides much of the weaponry that drives war, displacement, and massive numbers of refugees fleeing to Europe. Trump is now behind all of that by selling arms to keep wars going. He's co-signed the murder of an American journalist, and he continues the subjugation of Palestinians. Eventually, the voices in his crazy little orange head will tell him to do something that can't be reversed. Last week, he ordered an attack on Iran, and then his crazy little mind flip-flopped, and he reversed the decision a few minutes later before the missiles hit targets.
Yeah.
Solomon, the boy is a mad dog just waiting to bite, and he will eventually draw some very serious blood, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, it's you know, I think one of the things that we are learning from this presidency, because we've never had somebody who acted on impulse and did not listen to their advisors in the way that this president does. And this is a guy who's never been in political office ever and does not understand, in my view, how government works or even how it's supposed to work. I don't think he understands or cares about the fact that the checks and balances are there for a reason, that you have a national security advisor, that you have the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that you have economic advisors, that all of these people are there for a reason.
Yeah.
Because we know that when you got in office, the only reason that you became president was because you won a popularity contest. It wasn't because you were qualified for the job. It wasn't because you had any kind of international experience. It wasn't because you knew anything about the military. It was because you won a popularity contest. And that's any president.
Yeah.
Right? And so these people are there for a reason, so that you don't go off the rails with some stupid decision that you made based on your own limited knowledge of what you're dealing with. And the fact that he does not listen to these people is a scary, scary thing, Jay, because he knows nothing about international politics, foreign policy, or any of these things that he's making decisions on.
And also, he doesn't know anything about business. This man is a Manhattan real estate developer who now has his finger on the nuclear button. But let's remember what kind of a business person he is or was. Well, he still is. He's still making money from his businesses. He went bankrupt 3 times. Everybody talks about Donald Trump's plane, but Donald Trump used to have a yacht. But one of the times he went bankrupt, his bankruptcy creditors took his yacht from him. So not only is he thoroughly ignorant about what goes on in government and how it works, this boy doesn't know squat about business. And that's why he's been bankrupt 3 times. There's something wrong between his ears. He's crazy. And we need to set him down. We just need to set him down.
Yeah, well, when you start to get on the international stage and you start talking about attacking people, you start talking about using military weaponry against people, when you talk about sending people's children to fight in a war, that's when it becomes real. And my understanding in reading about this and researching it is that it would take 2 million U.S. troops to go to Iran on the ground in order to win a ground war in Iran. I mean, are we really willing to send our children to fight a war based on the whims of this dude?
Yeah, I think we are. I think we are. The pacifists in this country don't really seem to exist. The Democrats aren't yelling and screaming fire. Everybody sees what's happening. And mothers and fathers seem to be just waiting for their kids to board those planes and land somewhere near Tehran. We're asleep right now.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. But you know where they're not sleeping, Jay?
Where's that?
They're not sleeping in Harrisburg because there is some craziness that's going on in Harrisburg.
There always is.
Always,
Remember
man.
the former Attorney General Kathleen Kane? There's always something nutty going on up there.
Yeah. Well, here's the latest. Pennsylvania Republican Party Chairman Val DeGiorgio III was forced to resign after it was revealed that he was sharing kinky text messages with a female city council candidate from Philadelphia. Why don't these guys know yet not to do that, Jay?
I don't know. This poor schnook, Val DeGiorgio, and it's hard to imagine that there are two other Val DeGiorgios running the streets, but there you go. This guy, I don't know what to make of it, but this guy actually smells like he might be a victim. A female Republican candidate for city council in Philly reaches out to the chair of the Pennsylvania Republican Party and offers to buy him coffee the next time he's in town. And that grows into months and months of text exchanges between the two of them. They're playing tennis. They're going back and forth. The Philadelphia Inquirer says that the female candidate was flirtatious, quote unquote, and that the exchanges, that means mutual, the exchanges were, quote, sexually charged, unquote, close quote. To me, this sounds like it was mutually agreeable between two adults. Eventually, Val DeGiorgio, he did an Anthony Weiner and sent her a photo of well, let's just say Mr. Wigglesworth, okay? That's might have had a name, but I just want to create the image, all right? Even after the picture, she kept up contact for 4 more months. She was not offended by Mr. Wigglesworth, okay? The Inquirer ran copies of the texts, and I have to say, the female Republican candidate was as dirty flirty as the Republican Party chair who was forced to resign his job. But as a male politician, he was completely stupid to have a sexual exchange with an ambitious politician who he didn't know from Eve. In the end, after she lost the election, Irina Goldstein, and I think it's time that we probably bring her name into it, Irina Goldstein, that's her name, went to the press with the entire text history. She claimed she felt harassed, okay? But poor old stupid Val was the one who had to resign. In the age of Me Too, many men don't get a fair hearing. A tsunami of public opinion sweeps them away before they can defend themselves. Remember, that almost happened with Morgan Freeman about 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Men tend to take far too many liberties with women, and when they do, they need a swift and stiff beat down, okay? But even though the text exchanges seem consensual, and I get the sense Goldstein burned him for her own personal reasons, whatever they are, Val DeGiorgio had a wife and kids, and he has to look at how his lust got him humiliated and wrecked his career, regardless of what she did. So he may want to blame her, he may want to cast aspersions against her, but man, it couldn't have happened had you not sent the text behind your wife's back.
That's what I'm saying.
That's where you were.
You can't put yourself in that position.
Right.
And you have to understand that, I think, especially as a man with some power in this time.
Yeah.
We're in a time where you cannot do that. It's going to cost you.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you. And so, I guess for me, the issue is that this is a person who's in a position of leadership, and he's stupid enough to do that. So if you're stupid enough to do that, you're not smart enough to be handling my money up in Harrisburg.
But that's the secret.
You got to go.
But that's the secret. Men are dumb. There are a lot of men who, if a woman bats their eyes at him, they think, oh, man, I am sliced bread again. No matter how old the guy, 90-year-old man, a woman bats his eyes, well, I'm ready for another night out on the town. Whoa, I got a game going on. No, man, she just was being nice.
That's it.
You know, distinguish between polite women and flirty women. There are flirty women, but there are more polite women. So come on, man.
And then,
get it real.
And then the issue is this: you can't distinguish that electronically.
Right.
You can't distinguish what a person's facial expression is because, most of communication is body language.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't tell what a person's expression is. You can't tell what their intent is. You can't tell what their mindset is. You can't tell any of that through a text message. And yet, you sent a picture.
Oh, my Lord.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? You don't know this person, not for real.
And everybody knows about these things. Anthony Weiner is a cautionary tale.
Yep.
Come on, Jack. And look, think about it. You're not Mr. Charming. You're the chair of the political party. This woman is a candidate for public office. She could easily, think about it, jerky. This woman could easily have simply been playing you to try to get your political support. Because once she lost office, it was only a short period of time before she outed him with all these texts. So, come on. Be smart enough to say, why is this woman just butter in my hands?
Right. Think about it. Like,
guys are dumb.
Yeah.
Guys are dumb. Just write it down.
Yeah, that's true.
A man will pay your rent
if
you blink right. Even if your left nostril isn't running, you got a shot. If only one nostril is running with the right guy, you got a major shot. I got me a couple of women. Oh, man, you got a couple of nice girls who look at you and pity you. Okay, come on. Get straight.
Yeah.
And be faithful to your wives. All of you guys with wives.
Yeah.
Why'd you pick them if you aren't going to stick with them?
How about that? Don't
pick them.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you are absolutely right, Jay. I mean, on all points.
Yeah.
And so let this be yet another of the same lessons.
Oh, yeah.
Stop sending these text messages, man. Stop sending these pictures. Stop exchanging these flirtatious sexual messages with these women. You don't know these women.
Grow the heck up.
Please.
Grow the heck up. What was it, the Congressman Meehan, who had a large family and a wife of 40 years, he messed up his career in Congress because he got an attachment that wasn't returned by a staffer in his office.
That's right.
She works for you, Jack. She has to be nice. Don't take that as a come on. Come on. Like these guys with waitresses, all they have to say is, well, would you like a refill? Oh, she's into me. Oh, she's into me. I'm going to give her my number. Come on. Show some pride. Show some humility. And calm down. Calm down, guys.
Real talk from Jay McCalla.
It bothers me. It bothers me.
Yeah, I think it should bother all of us because, it's something that we need to talk about because I don't know why, after you've seen all of these people get in trouble for it, why would you do it?
There's a reason Mayor Jim Kenney deletes all of his texts. It's illegal that he deletes all of his texts, but he's a smart man for deleting all of his texts. He ain't no fool. You're not going to get Jimmy on a text.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. And guess what? You shouldn't be able to get anybody if they don't send them.
Right.
I'm saying, how about that?
Folks in Delaware County.
Don't send them.
Oh, yeah. Folks in Delaware County may remember the old restaurant called The Drip. There was a sign on the wall that said, even a fish wouldn't get caught if it kept its mouth shut. Best wisdom I ever learned in my little brown life.
That is Jay McCalla. He held senior positions in both the Rendell and Street administrations. A veteran political consultant, McCalla is a columnist for the Chestnut Hill Local. Work also appears in the Philadelphia Inquirer. Brings deep knowledge to politics and does so from an African-American perspective. Jay, thanks so much.
Always an honor.
All right. We are going to be talking with you on the other side of this break. 215-634-8065. Of course, this hour is brought to you by Power. Philadelphians organized to witness, empower, and rebuild. For more information, visit powerinterfaith.org. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Reality check. Reality Check, hosted by Charles Ellison, Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. right here on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com.
This Black Music Month vignette is brought to you by Moravia Health.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one
Glory story, written and recorded by both John Legend and Common, embarks on the journey of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement. Although written for a time that has passed us by, its message resonates with today's controversies, such as Black Lives Matter, police brutality, and systematic racism.
Everything about the movie made me want to be a part of it. It's Selma, about Dr. King and the people coming together to change the world. That's who I am. I'm like, I gotta be a part of this.
Its soulful sound is inspiring for the modern civil rights movement, allowing listeners to experience the passion behind such a powerful song that is directly in line with many other rhythms of resistance.
This Black Music Month vignette was brought to you by Moravia Health, because there's no place like home.
Hey everybody, it's the Rap Professor. We want you to come party with WURD Radio for our annual Food and Wellness Festival. We'll also be holding our annual Best Barbecue Contest as part of the festival. And I'll be hosting live. This will be the final day to start or renew your 4WURD membership at the special early bird rate of just $75. That's Friday, June 28th at the Fresh Grocer on Monument Road, 4160 Monument Road. Bring the whole family.
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an extreme flash flood.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Talk to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, Mark Bott, the founder of Operation KidSafe. One of our year-round child safety center's grand openings is Friday, June 28th at 10 a.m. Families get a free and private Amber Alert Ready safety form, and they'll be available year-round starting June 28th. Brought to you exclusively by Jillian O'Brien Nationwide Insurance, 15 East Winona Avenue in Norwood. Free Amber Alert Ready forms starting June 28th. Bring the kids by anytime during normal business hours.
Drive in with Solomon Jones. Drive home with Charles Ellison. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Philadelphia, independent black media. Word Radio News Update with Vincent Thompson.
Good morning. Here's the latest from the Word Radio Newsroom, 96.1 FM and 900 AM. Cleaning up vacant lots and closing off abandoned buildings in the most violent neighborhoods of Philadelphia will become a priority of the city this summer as an attempt to lower crime and gun violence. Those steps were among several highlighted during a nearly 4-hour Philadelphia City Council hearing that featured Philadelphia Police Commissioner Richard Ross and District Attorney Larry Krasner. The hearing was held as council worries about a spike in violence as the summer begins. Shootings and homicides are up 10% this year compared to 2018, according to police statistics. Licenses and Inspection Commissioner David Perry says his department will be leading the administration's efforts to identify and clean up blight in sections of the city that are experiencing high rates of gun violence. He says the cleaning and greening will be concentrated on just 1.5 square miles of Philadelphia, including sealing of vacant properties, demolition of unsafe buildings, and cleaning up and fencing off empty lots. Listen to the Political Source Show here on Word Radio today from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We've got a lot to cover. My guest on the show during the 10 o'clock hour, I'll speak to Philadelphia City Commissioner Office Chairwoman Lisa Dealey and Rich Garella, one of the founders of Protect Our Vote Philly, in separate interviews on the new voting machines coming to Philadelphia for the November election. The city commissioners will spend more than $29 million for 3,800 new machines and approximately 4,000 iPad election poll books. And at 11 a.m., we will look at the Democratic presidential debates with political consultant William Cobb and presidential candidate Joe Sestak. He'll join me from Iowa. Reminder, city council sessions are on summer recess, and they will not return until September the 12th. Checking sports, the U.S. plays France on Friday in the quarterfinals of the Women's World Cup soccer tournament in France, and Vanderbilt defeated the University of Michigan to win the College World Series title yesterday. I'll speak to you again from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the Political Source Show. Vincent Thompson, Word Radio News.
Back by popular demand. It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Good
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD, and we're taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. We want to hear from you. Let us know where you are on any of these things we are talking about on this morning show, including our top 3 stories, which are the Democratic presidential debate from last night. Did you watch? Did you live through it? Or did you die of boredom? I want to know what you think. Give us a call about that. Also, story number 2, the owner of Hahnemann University Hospital in Philadelphia has announced that it will close in September because of what the company calls continuing unsustainable financial losses. That's going to mean about 2,500 jobs. That's going to hurt in the city of Philadelphia. Also, an oil refinery that just had a fire is closing as well. So 2 major employers in Philadelphia closing. Does that affect you? I want to hear from you. Give us a call about that. And, of course, story number 3, it's a very sensitive story. A man is facing backlash online for repeatedly calling police on black women at his apartment complex's pool. He says that his actions were driven by his autism and not by racism. This is what he said. I'm autistic and lack a gauge that goes anywhere but 0 and 100. His name is Nick Star Street. And he said, when I see a lease violation, which is what was happening, these women had glass by the pool, which they're not supposed to have. They had bottles of champagne and glasses, and they were having a good time. And he called the police on them several times, and they said it was driven by racism. He said it was driven by his autism. I think it's something that we have to discuss because a lot of times we don't know that people are on the spectrum, and so we don't know why they are behaving in the way that they are and can misconstrue that behavior. Or sometimes maybe it is racism despite the fact that they are dealing with that. And so I think it's something we need to talk about, and I want to know what you think about that. 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. That's the number you can call to get in on the conversation. We, of course, also talked about violence and how do we solve the violence that's happening in our community. We want to hear your solutions today. Talked with Melanie Nelson from Northwest Victim Services. Also talked with Victoria Green from Every Murder is Real. A lot of people talking about grassroots organizations not getting funding, and so we want to talk to you about that too. Going to go to the phone lines, and we are going to talk with Dave from Northern Liberties on line 1. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, good morning. Thanks a lot to you and your staff.
You're welcome.
Hey, with these, programs these ladies have, against the violence and everything, have you ever noticed across the country that you have very few men, even heading any of that kind of organization? Because, I think it's part of what you were saying about the defunding thing. As soon as they put a man in, in any, even as an assistant, then of course, then he has to, of course, he should be paid for it because he can actually rally the troops a lot better and get more people involved in that. Okay, now about that debate that, so whatever you call it, that happened yesterday. Now they had 10 people, but did you notice how many of those people were actually truly speaking for the Republican Party? They were arguing about, why they went in Afghanistan, and then you had a man vehemently supporting the move to go into Afghanistan. And the other people would tell him, no, it was the Saudis. But this guy, I thought he was Donald Trump the way he acted on that. Okay. And you know what's happening in South Bend, Indiana? Even with that guy, I don't care whether he wore a dress or whatever, to that debate. South Bend is the home of the Fighting Irish. That's the biggest thing going in there. Nobody, even the broadcasters, never mentioned that. Notre Dame University. That's the biggest thing that South Bend is known for. And that's what what motivates them. And one more thing, the last thing, it's a record out by the 50s, made by the Coasters, and the record's name is Along Came Jones. I want you to play that record, and I I want you to pick out the parts that you can use. I think this will elevate you and your show. I think you will really like it.
All right, thank you, Dave. We appreciate your call this morning on WURD Radio, and thank you for the suggestion. Let's go to Mary from Olney on line 2.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mary.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, I'm okay. I'm just talking about the debate last night.
Okay. Go ahead, Mary.
I'm going back in the day when they had a debate before. We've got to watch because it's something very important. See and pick and choose and just figure out who's the best and how we can get over and who's going to help us in the future.
All right, Mary, I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Let's go to Kenny from Olney on line 3. Go ahead, Kenny.
Good morning.
Yeah, go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah, listen, you just mentioned about the story about the guy with autism, and he saw someone doing something go wrong, and he goes after them strong.
Uh-huh.
But he's been doing that only against black folks, and not just those girls, but other individuals as well. And the two women in question were walking through a Home Depot. They had left the complex and walked through a Home Depot parking lot. And he followed them all the way from that apartment complex where he resides, through the Home Depot. And one of them lived in a complex about, let's say about 5 blocks away. He followed them deliberately. And so it's not just that incident, but there are other incidents that have been brought out on social media. So it's not just, and the girls had permission. One of them was supposed to move in, and as recently as after that incident happened on a Sunday, on a Thursday later that week, got a phone call from the property manager asking them, is she still interested in moving in?
Yeah. And what did she say?
She said no.
Yeah, yeah.
It was on Roland Martin at Filter. She did an interview with him. So it's not just his disability that does it. His disability only equates when it comes to someone black. Because he berated the young lady in nasty terms and called her, niggers and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
On Twitter and Facebook after the incident.
Right.
And it's not just her, but others who we have encountered with who look like me, you, and her.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for giving us that background on that incident. And it's a sensitive discussion because he says, look, I'm doing this because I have autism, and that is what my response is based on. It's not based on race. It's not based on gender. I don't see race. I don't see gender. I always have a hard time with people that say that they don't see race, because you can see that I'm black. You don't think that I'm white. You don't think I'm from Norway. You don't think that when you see me. I am a dark-skinned black man. You understand what I'm saying? So you see that. When you see me, I don't care what your condition is, you can see that. And so I want to thank you for giving us that background on that case. Zaire from West Oak Lane is on line 4. Go ahead.
Good morning, Solomon.
Good morning, brother.
I want to address the area of how can we get better so far in our community. I just want to give you an example. When I came from 27th in York, in 1975, I went to the military.
Okay.
In the military, I met a whole lot of people from different backgrounds, right? I met some white guys from Mississippi, Alabama, and they said I hate black people. I was a little Philadelphia, so I didn't deal too much with white people. When we did, it was like a advantageous, not advantageous, but like a fighting type thing.
Yeah.
In the military, they taught us, look, y'all ain't got to love each other, but y'all going to respect each other. Y'all going to work together. So what I'm saying, if we teach the young ones, the young black kids, that, look, you ain't got to love each other, but you need each other, you got to respect each other. So y'all going to work together. the different types of things that we can do. Like colleges had to come up with it. But to show that we depend on each other, we got to work with each other. When we do that, our community gets better. Because right now, everybody's living on their own, doing their own thing. We'll never survive doing that. Yes, voting is important, and I vote every time. But we need to do more than voting, because the agents, they vote and they don't vote, but they still stick together because they know they need each other. We got to teach our kids and our adults that we need each other.
Right.
That's my opinion.
All right, Zaire, I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Let's go to Leroy from Germantown on line 6. Go ahead.
Hey, Solomon, how you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing boss good.
That's good.
You rumble, young man, rumble. So proud. I'm praying.
Please do. Please do.
There's a story that not a lot of people covering about, we're supposed to be the poorest, one of the poorest cities in this country. Yet 34,000 pounds of cocaine can come into the port. And they're going to lock up 6 foreigners who got $55,000 a piece to load it. Who ordered it? Who paid for it?
Right.
And it had to be somebody here with that kind of money that's paying for it, so everybody's not broke. But what's key for me is I work in the streets. We saw the heroin when it came in, saw people nodding in the yard, nodding in the park. And we got straight on it and got with the 14th and started doing surveys and drove it out of central Germantown. With the Lord. The Lord drove it out, used us. And so it went out of central Germantown. I'm saying, coming into the summer, who's ordering all this cocaine? And the people who are working the streets, the brothers who are out there, Abdul and them, out there in the streets that are watching the neighborhood, watch out for crack vial. Watch out for folks who are speeding around. Watch out for folks because they are switching from heroin to cocaine. Anytime they bring in 17 tons, and I know that's not all of it. And nobody's talking about who owns that, who bought that, who sent that, from where, from Bulgaria? No. Somebody ordered that cocaine, and ain't all they ordered. And so we're going to see it in our streets in the summer. Watch out. Everybody, look out. Just if you see something, say something.
All right, Leroy, I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WRD. One of the things about that cocaine shipment was that it was coming through the port of Philadelphia on its way to someplace else, I believe. Let's look that up and see if we can find out more about that. But I think it was on its way to someplace else. Now, I'm sure some of it was going to be dropped off here. But my understanding, and maybe they're just saying that, is that it was on its way to someplace else and it was coming through the port of Philadelphia. But we're going to go back to the phone lines and we are going to talk with Kasahu from North Philly on line 2. Go ahead, Kasahu. Kasahu, do me a favor. Call right back. We're going to hang up. We want you to call right back. There's something going on with line 2 and it's a lot of static. We want to hear what you got to say. Call us right back.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So we're going to go to the next line, and then we'll get right back to Kasahu. 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. That's the number. He called right back. He went to line 2 again. Let's just go to Kasahu now. Go ahead, Kasahu. Kasahu, good morning. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. How are you this morning?
Good, and you?
I'm still studying it.
All right.
Watching this crazy movie. Listen, on all this violence and stuff, I watched City Council yesterday have the hearing with Councilman Kenyatta and all the heads, all the authorities was there. But each and every last one of those authorities that put out a good program and resources that they was doing never talked about their back door. All of them have a back door that's wide open for failure. That's why all the programs that they putting up in front of our faces, none of them amount to anything. The school board has a back door that more children drop out than graduate, and they won't shut it. Then the manpower for the boys on the corner is coming from the school board. Then the police department locks them all up because they still playing the war on drugs, where the whole black community was locked up. Now our kids can't get jobs because they're all marked up with felonies all on them for stuff that they got caught up in. And then city council and the mayor is signing off on to rules and regulations that abridge our rights. Like for instance, when they said that the trash can be stored in the front of the house, what happened? It was an explosion in Philadelphia with trash. You can't even sit on your Philadelphia steps anymore. Then you got those boys that dropped out of school, joining these open-air drug dealer corners that hires them. Anybody drop out of school, they don't have a high school diploma and don't have work reference, and the drug boys is hiring them. The city needs to know. The city knows what it's doing. And then you got a drug dealer's paradise here in Philadelphia because graffiti, loud music all day and into the night, trash dumping, and drug selling is now on the books as a nuisance. It's no longer in a major crime.
You keep saying that drug dealing is a nuisance crime. I don't think that's true, Kasahu. Now, I understand the trash and those other things, those are public nuisances, but I don't think that drug dealing is listed as a public nuisance. Where are you getting that from? Well,
Like I said before, I'm dealing with the fourth generation of the same drug family on the same drug corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to go into that. It's out there. I know them all. The fourth generation, they are allowed to be out there because it's part of the gentrification scam that's being run on us. Look at it. Look at the school. They lump all our kids together, black and brown, and they changed the curriculum and started tearing our stuff up in the school. Look at our neighborhoods. Same thing. The cops don't patrol down here, but they allow open-air drug corners to be in existence.
Yeah, well, I know I've seen that. I've seen that in the city, man, and it's something that we're going to have to deal with. I was especially appalled when I went to Kensington and saw people shooting heroin out on the street, on Allegheny Avenue, a major street in Philadelphia, right off of K&A on a street called Shelburne Street, shooting dope, like 15 people, on Hilton Street, right behind a daycare center, on the back wall of a daycare center. They leaning against the wall shooting dope. And the cops riding by watching them. I mean, I've seen this, and this is something that has to be dealt with in the city of Philadelphia. So we are going to go to break. We're going to continue to take your calls. If you're on the line, we're going to get to you right now. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Drexel University's continuing professional education supports WORD and Black Music Month. Earn the skills and credentials you need to stay ahead in today's ever-changing job market with flexible courses to fit your busy life. Get in touch with us at drexel.edu/goodwin/CPE.
Listen live at wordradio.com.
The Kimmel Center offers free arts education programs to schools across the region. Teaching artists visit classrooms to educate, engage, and inspire the next generation using creative learning experiences, and schools take trips to the Kimmel Center for live performances. The Kimmel Center is committed to educating Philadelphia's youth by providing access to quality arts. For more information, visit kimmelcenter.org.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Good morning. Right now on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD. I know Valerie, that there are some folks weighing in on Facebook, so let's check it out and see what they have to say. In the meantime, we are going to go to the phone lines, 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. That's the number you can call if you want to get in. Let's go to Lynn from Darby on line 1. Go ahead, Lynn.
Good morning, Solomon.
Good morning. Good, and you?
I'm blessed by the best. And
all right.
Good morning, Val and Queen Kawesa. I just wanted to comment on the presidential debate. Now, Jay, boyfriend in my head, we have to encourage the public and our work family and others to watch these boring things and do our research. And I got to single out about 5 people, and I wrote my notes, and then I fell asleep. So I'm going to do my research, just like the Women's Black Leadership did the research for us and did the scorecard on the black judges, and not a one was elected. So we got to do our duty, because they let us down at the primary. So we're going to have to do our research in order to get rid of Trump, and we have to. So that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to give a shout-out to all the events Word Radio sponsors, and we had a wonderful time at the last one at the revitalization of the Chester Block Party. We had food, free food, painting on canvas, and they told us about the history of Chester, and shout out to Ulysses and Edith Blackwell. These events are so enriching for our community. The Barnes Foundation, the Bartram Gardens, it was all that. So, Word family, it's important we get out and support these events and get your membership. And, Solomon, I'm looking forward to licking my fingers for your barbecue.
There we go. There we go. It is on. You too. You too. We'll see you tomorrow at the Word Wellness Festival, which is taking place at the Fresh Grocer at 4160 Monument Road. That's tomorrow, and that's from 1 to 5. The day will include Zumba, chair yoga, health screenings, a healing drum circle, but most importantly, it will include the Solomon Jones team winning the barbecue contest. We ain't playing no games. My son will be leading the team. That's right. He is Solomon Jones 3.0. Solomon Jones III will be leading the team at just 14. And we have some secret weapons, including the queen of barbecue, my wife, Mrs. Levita Jones, who is just phenomenal on a grill. I just get out the way, buy the food, let her cook it, and eat it. That is my job, and I will be doing it tomorrow and doing it quite well. And Akbar Hassan, who is a financial consultant extraordinaire, but also on the low, he is a barbecue freedom fighter. That's right. He is the great-grandnephew of Frederick Douglass, and so we barbecuing for freedom. I don't know what the other teams are barbecuing for. I don't know why the rest of y'all barbecuing. We barbecuing for freedom, and that's why we going to win. I don't know why you laughing, Kawesa. We are going to win this thing.
You know what's happening right now? I keep imagining like a black choir behind y'all singing like, oh, get your hot dogs. Oh, get your hamburgers. Like that's what get these freedom burgers.
Yo, doing a little stomp clap like like that, like one of them jaws.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we ain't got no piano dog on it, but we got that stomp and that clap. Valerie, it's going to be on tomorrow.
Freedom burgers sound good.
Yeah. That's what we should call them.
Mm-hmm. That's
what we
sound.
should call them. Freedom burgers. And bet nobody else, bet not none of y'all bite that name, Freedom Burgers. So, yeah, I like that. We're going to be doing that tomorrow. Make sure y'all get out to join us. We're going to be at the Fresh Grocer at 4160 Monument Road for the Word Wellness and Food Festival, and the Solomon Jones team will be in full effect on the grill. Let's go to Melissa from Philly. She's online too. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Solomon and Quasa. How are you guys?
We good. How you doing?
Well, I'm sitting here listening to you, first of all, talk about your son and Queen Supreme on the grill. And it sounds like they're about to help me get my life tomorrow.
I know that's right.
I said she's queen on the grill. Well, I'm queen of taste testing. Okay?
There you go.
So
there you go.
Meet. So I'm excited to come out and be with you guys tomorrow and be a part of the festivities. It sounds really exciting.
Good.
But I wanted to just briefly comment on two things. One, the hearings regarding the reduction of gun violence in the city of Philadelphia, and
yes.
two, the debates last night. Now, I found the debates to be really interesting last night because I don't think that most people expected the likes of Tim Ryan to be out there and be so progressive and have really common sense solutionary suggestions and recommendations to get the country back on track. You know, I listened to Cory Booker lash out against corporate America, and campaign finance reports would, you know, reflect something different. We heard Bill de Blasio talk about economic justice and, you know, the major steps that he's been able to make in New York City as the mayor. Elizabeth Warren was very adamant about her approach towards Trump, and she comes with a wealth of knowledge. So last night was very interesting. I'm excited to see what happens tonight. But the one thing that stuck out the most to me, Solomon Quaisa, last night, that was just speaking to me, I was like kind of screaming at my phone as I was watching. Tim Ryan hit the nail on the head. He said, if America does not pay attention to the next generations and the trauma that our children experience in their neighborhoods, and they go to school and they don't have trauma-prepared instructors to receive them and ensure that their traumas are dealt with, addressed, so that they're in a position to receive the education that they're being taught. If people don't pay attention to what he said about that, he hit the nail on the head. Our kids are being traumatized from the violence, the drugs, the lack of, you know, funding in their schools, the lack of access to tools and resources. And that translates over into the gun violence in our streets with our kids. You know, one of your callers, he was spot on when he said, we're looking at the front door. If we go to the root and the base of why people self-medicate, why our kids pick up weapons, and why they don't see the humanity in each other, we have to look at what they're exposed to from young children on up. And it all goes back to a lack of education in our schools. If our children are occupied and interested, and their interests are, you know, coupled with a safe setting, a green setting, a healthy setting, teachers that understand them, children can thrive and children can succeed. I know it. I was one of those kids that grew up in poverty, but it was my school that saved me. So it's a combination of contributing factors, but last night it was just so, you know, overwhelming for me to hear a presidential candidate that's totally unknown talk about something that most Americans turn a blind eye to.
I hear you, and I want to thank you so much for your call. We got a lot of people waiting, so we got to go, but thank you so much for your call. Thank you so much for listening this morning on WURD. Let's go to Ed from Willingboro on line 3. Go ahead, Ed.
Hey, all right. So good morning, Solomon. How you doing there?
Good. How are you?
Yeah. I'm okay, yeah. Now, look, you know, you were talking about this drug bust. Now, 17.5 tons, right? Correct?
Yeah, probably more than that.
Yeah. Okay, well, how much do you think got through? That could be a decoy, or that could be for Big Pharma. They're not going to destroy that. That's going to the big pharmaceutical companies. We
You think so?
know that. If they catch 17 tons, 100 tons got through, just like the marijuana. You know, that could have been the decoy to draw them all there. Now, I mean, you know, they said Vietnam, Afghanistan, that was all about, you know, big pharmacy. They're bringing back heroin in the bodies of these dead GIs. You know, they telling us they were there to stop the flow of communism when you got China, Russia, and North Korea right there that you can't beat. You see, so they play games with these pharmaceuticals. That's not going to be destroyed. That's going to big pharmacy because that's what they make Percocet, Darvocet, Vicodin, morphine. Yeah, you think they're going to throw that away? Give me your opinion.
Do I think they're going to throw away the drugs?
No, they're not going to burn that. That's big business, man. Yeah, so I mean, you know.
So what do you think they're going to do with it if they don't destroy it? What are they going to do with it?
That's going to big pharmacy. That's what they're in Afghanistan for anyhow. There's no war over there. Why would they destroy it? That's what they use to make morphine and all these pharmaceuticals with.
Actually, they use poppy seeds to make morphine. But I hear you. But I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD. And we're going to go to our next caller. Vernetta from North Philly is on line 4. Go ahead, Vernetta.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning, Solomon. I was calling because I love listening to the show in the morning.
Thank you.
I love hearing the varying opinions of people. But I really have a concern about, so I work with teenagers, and my concern is about the teens and the young adults.
Okay.
I think that a lot of times we are paying attention to the problems of the city, and we're not paying attention to the most important people in the workforce right now, and that's the young adults. So like the people that they're not wanting to work right now, and that's what I'm seeing a lot of. A lot of people are saying that they want to be entrepreneurs, self-employed, and it's really hard to gauge them into conversations when they are not in the community conversations, to say the least. And I just want to find a way to bridge some of this information that we are getting from our elders in the community, bridge it to the young folks so that they can understand and start to vote.
Yeah.
Think about the things that we really need in this community, because I go through different parts of the city all day long, from Germantown to North Philly to Manayunk to Roxborough. And the one thing that is prevalent is that people are here and they are not concerned with the guns. They are not concerned with the drugs. They are putting themselves in our community, and they are sticking around. And they're going to stick around and wait till things pick themselves back up.
Yep.
And then Philadelphia won't be a poor city, because there's a lot of people in this city with PhDs and doctorates and things like that. They're going to find a way to filter this money back into the city, whether it's through the drugs, whether it's through some of these social services that we have. But this city is not poor. We're very rich in people. And I think that when we gauge the people back into these conversations, we can see where and it's not in money. It's in the knowledge that we have to move forward. So I appreciate these conversations, and I just wanted to start my day off like this. This is my first time calling.
Thank you so much, Vernetta. We appreciate you, and we are definitely reaching out to every demographic and doing a lot more on social media, because we know that that is where our younger listeners are. So we're doing a lot more there in order to engage everybody in this conversation. And so we so appreciate you, and thank you for listening and for calling this morning. We are going to, all right, take care. We are going to go back to the phone lines in just a few minutes, but it is 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation. And it really is, Valerie, about engaging people across generations in order to solve the things that we're dealing with.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things, like you said it earlier, you have to show people alternatives.
Yep.
And it can't be the same alternatives. Like, everyone thinks, oh, when you're a young black man, it's like, I can rap or I could play ball. It's so many different things you can do.
That's right.
Black chefs, actors, anything in the arts, or even just activists for the community, just reaching out and doing something other than something that involves crime or violence that puts you in basically a worse predicament than you're already in. You just have to see the alternatives. And that same energy that you put into the violence and the negativity, if you take that same energy and put it elsewhere to something that's a little bit more productive and positive, it'll be much better for you, your community, and your future. And I think people just need to acknowledge that. And that's where those alternatives, again, come into place.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And it has to be that. And I think that in order for us to see what's possible for us, we have to come out of our houses. Right? We have to come out of the church. We have to come out of these places where sometimes we can end up hiding, right, from the problems that we see and talk about, but never confront or never see face to face. Right? We talk about it, and I'm committed to going beyond just talking about it. We got to get out of these places where we are and get out in the street and actually talk to the people, man. That's the only way that people will see alternatives, and it's the only way we can actually have a real conversation. For real. What do you think?
I mean, that's the start of it. And then we have social media. I mean, so much is translated and communicated through social media. Even if you can watch a video and think you know the entire story, and conversations take place that way too. I think that's another way that things could be exchanged through social media, whether it's video posts, tweets, Instagram, whatever the case may be. That'll affect the younger generation.
Yeah.
And I think that will make them more open to it as well. And I also think fear plays a part in it, because when you talk about alternatives, that comes from a fear of the unknown. You haven't seen anyone do black chefs who are successful to an extent, so it's like, I don't know if it's going to work out for me. But then social media gives you that platform to test it out, to show people what you have and what you can do, and then you kind of just go from there.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, there's so much, and it depends on how you use it, and that goes for a whole lot of things, right? But you know, it really depends on how you use that medium, because you can use social media for negative, Kwesa, or you could use it for something positive.
Yeah, you can, and that's why it's such a powerful, platform. It's one of the reasons why sometimes even, violence gets out of control, because you have, like, when I was in school, you get in a fight, you have the fight, you go home, right? But now it's like, get in a fight and then you can't get away from it. It's baiting you on social media. It's coming at your neck even more, and there's no hiding from it. And so then when you see, all these kids stressed out, anxiety because of the fact they can't get away from, that violence or those negative tendencies day in and day out, that's why we do see some of the stressors in some of our younger people, because they can't get away from it. So yeah, social media is a very, very powerful tool.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Let's go to Wally from Wyncote on line 1. Good morning, Wally.
Good morning.
What's your comment this morning? Yep, go ahead.
Okay, I was thinking, my brother, practicing righteousness in the black community will help a long ways.
Okay.
Righteousness. And the reason why I say that, because your deeds will outweigh your falsehood or wickedness that plague the community. And if you practice righteousness and everybody does it, who try to do the right thing, we will accomplish what we will. And I know that to be a fact, because the Creator didn't make us to do wrong. He made us to do the right thing. And that's all I'm saying. And your deeds will shine, like you. The ancestor came to you and talked to you, made that step, and you stepped out. That's a good deed. And all the rest that calls up, they want that same pleasure, Righteousness, if we show it to the young people, instead of showing the bad things, show it to them. Practice it in their face. Be bold about it. I guarantee it will change, because that's what they're looking for. I asked several teenagers, and they see. They think people think the old people, they call us old people. They said they think we sleep, but we're not sleep. We see everything. Everything you say, everything you eat, everything you do, what you drink. Okay?
I hear you.
Boy, he was 15. He said, why they smoke cigarettes? You know, it says kill you on the package. He said, why did they do that? He said, why they smoke cigarettes, Brother Wally? I said, I don't know. It says cause cancer, and they still smoke it. Why? I said, I don't know, brother. You got to ask the person who smokes.
Yeah.
You got to ask the person who drinks whiskey. Why? It don't taste good. I don't get no vitamins from it. So why they drink it? You understand, Brother Solomon?
I do. Brother Wally, I want to thank you so much for your call, and peace be unto you also. We are going to go to break, and on the other side, we are going to talk with Sarah Goldrick-Rab about what's going on with student loan debt. It is becoming a serious, serious problem for a lot of people. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Don't miss the Electric Magazine Show.
Hosted by Cody Anderson and Vicky Leach. Saturday mornings from 7 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Exclusively on Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Looking for an exciting new hotel in a fabulous location? The Cambria Hotel is the place. Located on Avenue of the Arts, this hot new location features modern, stylish guest rooms for that special staycation or your next out-of-town guest. Wind down for a delicious bite at the Trouble and Bass Lobby Bar and Restaurant, or Philadelphia's #1 rooftop lounge, Attico. Looking for meeting space? Check out the Cambria's beautiful ballrooms and catering services. The vibe is upscale and never uptight. Book now and save with our special promotional rates. It's the Cambria Hotel, where everybody is somebody. Visit CambriaPhiladelphia.com.
Support independent black media and join the Forward movement now at 215-425-7875
or visit wordradio.com.
When you went car shopping, you meant business.
You ace vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesman the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're waking up
with Word.
Hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM, WURD. And our next guest is Dr. Sarah Goldrick-Rabb. She's the founding director of the Hope Center for College, Community, and Justice, and she's professor of higher education policy and sociology at Temple University. Dr. Rabb, good morning.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, what is going on with student loan debt? It seems to be it's a topic we hear more and more about. What's going on with it?
Well, we're facing a situation where a whole lot of people understand that if they don't do something after high school in terms of getting further education, they're going to be locked out of the good jobs that, help keep them and their families stable. So they have to go on to college. But unfortunately, at the government level, we have not set up a system that actually makes it affordable for people to go to school. So they're taking on debt because they need an education and they want an education, and they're finding that they're unable to repay that debt.
Yeah. And so you have several people, of course, who are running for office, including Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, others, talking about canceling student loan debt. Tell us, first of all, how student loan debt kind of works, and then whether or not what they're proposing is feasible.
Well, the way that student loan debt works is pretty different from other financial products out there. If you want to go get a loan for a house, for example, you're going to have to go through a credit check. But the point of federal student loans is to help the people who, by definition, wouldn't pass those credit checks right now, because they don't have the stability brought by things like intergenerational wealth or a lot of education. So lacking those advantages, they can't get credit. The federal government gives them credit in the form of student loans to say, we want to help you get ahead. But that also means those people are at risk of not being able to repay the loans, and particularly if they don't graduate from college. We've got a very high college dropout rate right now. It's around and over for some groups, over 50%. And that's happening because even with loans, a lot of people still can't make ends meet. So they get in a situation where they cannot repay. And when they cannot repay, the federal government punishes them. This is debt that can, not be discharged very easily. It is hard to even declare bankruptcy to get out of it. And it can then mean that you're saddled with it for 10 and 20 and even, more years, and you can't get on with your life.
Yeah. And so that's a deep thing, because you don't have the degree, you still have the debt, you still have to pay it back, and you're not going to get that high-paying job that you thought you were going to get by getting this college degree. And so it's almost like a lot of people are trapped by that.
They are, and I want to say a lot of those people are people of color, and particularly African Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you look at a system that says, all right, we're going to dangle this carrot in front of people, and we're going to say college is worth it, and then we're going to set you up in a debt trap, that you get hurt, it's not okay. And so what I like is that for the first time in a very long time, in perhaps ever, the presidential candidates are having a detailed conversation about two things. Number one is trying to get people out of this very bad situation so that our past mistakes don't do so much harm.
Right.
And number two is about fixing it going forward so that our kids don't deal with the same situation.
Yeah, and we're talking with Sarah Goldrick Rabb. She is Temple University professor and an expert in higher education financing. So when you hear Bernie Sanders say he's going to cancel $1.6 trillion worth of student loan debt, do you think that it's feasible, and do you think that is the best use of that money to actually help people who are in that situation?
Look, I mean, I first want to say, when I hear him say it, I smile. And I smile because he's recognizing the reality and the pain, okay? And I think that's a big deal for people running for president right now. Far too many of them are so out of touch, not only with working class people, but with the middle class. And they keep on saying it's not that big a deal, you'll just be able to repay your debt. So to have people like both, Senators Warren and Sanders, who are saying, no, this is not okay, I think that's good. Now, the next question about feasibility, well, that's where the rubber hits the road, right? And I would honestly urge people to, in some sense, when they're trying to decide who to vote for the people who've got the basic ideas right. The little intricate policy details, like at what level of relief would we provide and with what requirements, that's what you do in D.C. after you've elected somebody. And the biggest issue is that he's going to have to get more data and more information from the Department of Ed to really structure his plan. Now, right now, he cannot get it. But if he were in the White House, he could. Same thing with Liz Warren. Okay, so is it the best use of dollars? We got to look at all the priorities, right? There's a vibrant conversation about reparations right now.
Right.
There's an important conversation, right, about helping people, even those who didn't go to college, to get on their feet. We got to look at all those priorities and ask ourselves, if we can get these people into the White House, what do we want them to prioritize? And I think that's a conversation that lasts more than a presidential election cycle.
Yeah. Agreed. And so, with student loans working the way that they do, one question that I have, because I know when I went to school that, we had grants, we had loans, we had other things in order to help us finance. And again, I'm still paying college loans, right? And so this is a real problem for real people. Are they structured differently now than they were, say, 20 years ago?
Well, they are to some extent, and the biggest difference, though, I think is invisible to most people. The biggest difference is that 20 years ago, the federal government paid private banks to make these loans to the public. And now the federal government does it themselves. And the fact that they cut out the private banks as the middleman saved us, as taxpayers, enough money to put more into the federal Pell Grant.
Okay.
And that's a big story, right? A lot of us agree with that story. Now, because we, the taxpayers, and the federal government carry that debt and it originates at the federal level, they're trying to cover their risk. Because like I said, they're not looking at families saying, are you likely to repay this money? They're just saying, do you want to go to college? And so what would happen if a lot of people are defaulting like they are right now and we didn't cover our risk with interest rates, right? That's a tough situation. Now, maybe the interest rates are too high at this point, but I got to tell you, if we don't cover the interest, we don't cover that risk, there's a real chance the federal government stops making those loans before they've actually made college affordable without them.
Wow.
So, right? Think about what happened to African-American families and historically black colleges when President Obama said, in a pretty paternalistic way, to be honest with you, listen, y'all shouldn't be taking those Parent Plus loans because they're so risky. So he restricted access, and people couldn't send their children to college. That's not the right move, and he had to reverse himself. So I hope that explains, the complexity here of even trying to do the equitable and just thing when we haven't yet figured out how to just make college affordable so that we don't need these loans.
Yeah. Now, I know you're doing some work with emergency aid to college students. What is that?
Yeah, so emergency aid is what people need when the dollars from work just don't add up. And the truth is that wealthy students, they get emergency aid all the time. It's just that they say, hey, Mom and Dad, can I have $100? And Mom and Dad are like, sure. But we have to give out emergency aid to students like mine at Temple and those at CCP because their schools are not wealthy and they do not have wealthy parents. The problem is that most of the time when students need emergency aid, they cannot find it. And they have to go and prove their poverty, even perform their poverty, to convince someone at the college that they're worthy of like $100. So after watching that happen for more than a decade, I've gotten frustrated, and I've said, we know the evidence they need it, and we know what we need to give them. So I just joined, on top of all my other jobs, and I'm still at Temple and all of that, but I've just joined a company called Equity, where they're letting me, as Chief Strategy Officer for Emergency Aid, actually craft a student-focused solution where we can get dollars into the hands of those students directly without them ever having to sort of beg, borrow, or steal to make it happen. And we're not making profit off those students. What we're doing is we're making very small dollar contracts with the colleges to say, look, we think we can do this better than you can, and we think that we can get it done in an effective and viable and sustainable approach so that any student who needs a little bit of money to keep them in school can get it. That's the bottom line. That's what I would call success.
All right. That is Dr. Sarah Goldrick-Rab. She joined us to talk about student loan debt. She's the founding director of the Hope Center for College, Community, and Justice and professor of higher education policy and sociology at Temple University. I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning on WURD.
I appreciate you.
All right. You take care. So this is a serious thing, man. You know, you getting those loans, and especially you don't graduate, and now you still stuck with the debt. That is a serious thing. Now, I want to be clear. I don't think that that Bernie Sanders talking about canceling $1.6 trillion in people's debt, I don't think that's real. I got to be honest with you. You know, I think that sometimes folk make really, really big promises in order to sound really visionary, but the rubber hits the road in, okay, how you going to make that happen? Where's the money going to come from? What programs are you going to take it from in order to just cancel out everybody's debt? I wish it was true. I wish that was something that could really happen. But, you know, when I look at it from a practical standpoint, I'm not saying it can't happen because anything can. But when I look at it from a practical standpoint, it sounds very far-fetched to me, you know. I don't know. What do you think, Kawesa?
I think that it probably does sound pretty far-fetched. I think that what would be maybe more realistic is making sure that, you know, no matter how much, you know, debt that you accrue, those loan companies can only take a certain percentage of your money, right? So I know that for me, you know, probably 3/4 of one of my paychecks goes right to my student loans. I pay more for my student loan than I do for my rent. And so, you know, to me, that's where the travesty comes in because, you know, for a very long time, I could not, you know, really do for myself like I wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that would probably be more realistic is to make sure that, you know, you have students who are not out here spending $1,000 on their student loans when they could be using it to, you know, try to live a better life.
Yeah, absolutely. That should never be the case. And I don't know. What do you think? Because you're in college now. Valerie looks scared. She looks scared now. I'm sorry, Valerie.
I'm scared. When Kawesa said that, I was ready to cry. What? More than your rent? It's scary because I know me, even when I was getting ready, like doing financial aid before freshman year really even started, I was scared. Like I was telling my family, I was like, yo, like I really don't want to take these loans out because like I'll be in debt. And I'm like, I'm not ready for that. And it's every year. So, and then on top of that, it deals with like, like if you're like I know for me personally, I'm considered an independent because of my mom's custody. So like my financial aid is completely different. A Parent Plus loan doesn't even exist for me. So on top of that, I have to find a way to get like private loans or different grants. And I know they actually canceled one of the state grants that everybody was getting. So it's just rough, and it's also scary because you're trying to prepare yourself for a job and a career and a life that you would like to have. But then it's like reality sets in. It's like I'm preparing for something, but I got to figure out how I'm going to pay for what I'm doing now, which is kind of smack in the face because people always say go to school, but they don't really tell you like you got to be financially prepared to go to school.
Yeah, you do. And one of the things that I really try to impress on my children is that you can go to school for free. All you got to do is get good grades. right? That's what you got to do. Like, that's the easiest way to go to school. I know a lot of our boys are focused on going to school through athletics, and that's fine if you can do that. But if you just get good grades, you ain't got to hurt nothing. You ain't got to break your leg. Like, you ain't got, like, you know what I'm saying? And so that is one of the things, man, that I want all of us to really push on our kids, that, wait a minute, you can get scholarships. And all you got to do is get good grades. And that's easy. School is free, right? If you go to public school, it's free. Go in there, get good grades, get some scholarships so that you can go to college for free and come out of there without all of that debt. That's what I've been pushing on them. And I think for us, a lot of us don't know that. Because for a lot of us, we still in the first or second generation of folks who are going to college in our families. And so that is a serious conversation, one that we needed to have. And I want to thank everybody who joined us on today's show, including political commentator Jay McCalla, Victoria Green, and Emily Nelson, and, of course, Dr. Sarah Goldrick-Rab of the Hope Center for College, Community, and Justice. And now, for super producer Kawesa Mathis and super intern Valerie Maynor, I am your host, Solomon Jones, saying tune in tomorrow at 7 for more Wake Up with Word. Peace.